Herbal shop owner John Martinez is suing his former live-in girlfriend, marketing consultant Diane Mulatieri, for an unpaid loan and for breaking an apartment lease. Diane says she moved out because John is a cheater.
Yeah, this is case number 350 on the calendar in the matter of Martinez versus Mulatieri. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Martinez, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time. You were in a relationship, according to what I read in your complaint. You are suing her for some sort of a loan that you claim you made to her during the relationship, and also for 2 months' rent, her half of 2 months' rent, because she moved out 2 months prior to the termination of the lease. The defendant says that living with you became intolerable, and she was forced to move. She even gave you the option of moving out, and that she paid for plenty during this relationship and she owes you nothing. So why don't you tell me when you moved in together and how long the lease was?
We moved in together April of 2003.
Okay. When did the defendant leave the apartment?
Around September 3rd.
And how much was the rent?
$855 a month total.
And what was your financial arrangement with the defendant?
We split everything.
In half?
Yes.
How romantic. Why did she leave?
You have to ask her that. I'm not...
What do you think?
Probably because of my infidelity.
That might be a reason. Is that right, Mr. Martinez?
Yes, ma'am.
Shh. That would be a good reason, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It would be a reason, for instance, that you might leave.
I agree.
So, Mr. Martinez, what are you doing here?
I feel she still owes me the back rent because she did sign the lease. And she verbally agreed to pay for the tires that I bought her.
I'm not getting to the loan yet, just a second. Okay. I'm not getting to this loan yet.
All right.
If my memory is correct, you and I just had a discussion. You lived together in what Miss Mulatieri?
Yes, ma'am.
Believed was a committed relationship. Evidently, based upon what you tell me, she discovered that you were not being faithful to that relationship, and so she left. And when I said to you, Mr. Martinez, well, do you think that that was right that she left? You would have done the same thing. You said right. So I asked you, what are you doing here?
Actually, I would have stayed there through the lease because I did sign the lease.
Really?
We both signed the lease.
Really?
And I did ask her, you know, if we could just live together as friends, but she refused.
Well, that's hard to do, Mr. Martinez. That may be easy for you. I want you to do a flip for me, you see.
If she did the same thing to me, you know.
Let's say you were in love with her with all your heart and soul and had been totally faithful, and the idea of fooling around never occurred to you. And all of a sudden you come home one day and you find somebody's boxer shorts in your bed, and they're a size large. Aha, light goes off. And she acknowledges to you, well, you know, a little afternoon delight never hurt anybody. You said, well, I can't live like this, you know. I mean, I love you. You broke my heart. I can't live like this. And she said, well, but we have a lease. So I have this guy that I'm really crazy about. I want you to just deal with it. You know, he won't be around all the time. He'll just come and pick me up, you know, occasionally to go out for dinner. He may stay over a night or two, but not regularly. And you just live out the terms of your lease and we'll be friends. How do you think, Mr. Martinez, your macho would deal with that?
Well, actually, it wasn't at our apartment.
I don't give a rat's behind whether it was in Times Square. How do you think your male macho would deal with that?
I'd be hurt, yeah.
And how do you think you'd feel for the first time she brought Mr. Afternoon Delight home in the evening? Not well. Now let's get to the loan. The loan.
Okay.
Try to regroup, Mr. Martinez. Try to regroup and tell me about the loan.
Okay, I put tires on my credit card for her, and also...
And when did you do that, sir?
7/8 of 2003.
And why did you put her tires on your credit card?
Because her credit wasn't good.
Tell me what she said to you when you put the tires on your credit card.
She asked me if she could have the tires put on my credit card, and I agreed, as long as she paid me back.
Now, Just for my own curiosity, sir, and well, this is not dispositive of the legal issue, when did you start fooling around?
I think it was in August. It was just one time.
How much were the tires?
$228.63.
What else? What?
For a self-improvement class that she took.
Self-improvement, what was she trying to improve?
She was trying to get into some commercial acting.
What do you do for a living?
I have a private business. I supply fresh herbs to local high-end restaurants.
You make a living at that?
Yes.
Okay, and how much was the self-improvement class?
$975.
Anything else?
Other than the rent, that's it.
By the way, you still in the apartment?
I am.
You are?
Yes.
You're staying there by yourself?
Yes.
So you're managing the rent?
Well, against my credit card, yes.
So the herb business is not as good as you thought it might be?
Right.
Maybe you should look into another line of work.
Maybe.
Tell me, you left because, in 10 seconds.
I was fearful of my life, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Basically, John had a gun in the house that I was not happy with. When he started showing signs of possible multiple personalities and extensive forgetfulness, like he couldn't remember certain emails and things that he had done, I started...
That's not something wrong with his mind. That's selective memory.
Well, he really put on a good act, even as far as going to see a therapist, leaving voicemails with strange...
Did you tell him that you would stay in the apartment if he would leave?
Yes, I asked him to leave.
When?
When I broke, September 1st, I broke the relationship off in the therapist's office, and he had a couple of options available to him, and I suggested that he take those so that, because the therapist said that we did not belong under the same roof.
Okay. Is that true, sir?
He did not tell me that. I believe, he must have told her that. I'm just assuming he did.
After that therapy session, did, in fact, Miss Mulatieri ask you to leave, and she would stay in the apartment?
Yes, and then I asked the same of her. I said, actually, I asked her, why don't we just fulfill the lease, and it's a two-bedroom apartment. She has her own bedroom, I have mine.
That was not tenable, but she volunteered to stay in the apartment if you would leave.
Correct.
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I have my own business. I'm a marketing consultant for small businesses.
Okay. What's wrong with your credit?
That was from a previous marriage. Men have been very good to me.
Oh. See. All right. The tires and the self-improvement classes, tell me about that. Were those loans?
He did let me borrow his credit card to put my tires and the self-improvement class on.
Okay, so you acknowledge those loans?
Yes, I do. The rent is what I have a problem with. I had to go out and secure a place to live. I had to put my furniture in storage.
Okay, very easy. Honest lady, you owe him $1,203. I don't think either of you have to live in a situation where it's rendered unsafe or intolerable for you to be there. You were given an option, sir. The option was she'll stay and assume the responsibility of the apartment. You leave. You chose the other. So now it's not reasonable for you to come back and sue her for that. So you're there and you're taking care of your bills. But she does acknowledge owing you $1,203.
Yes,
Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He left voicemails with different voices on it, like it was different personalities.
I was playing mind games with her a little bit. That's because she broke into my emails and my files on my computer.
It was an email to his new lover indicating what he would like to do with her.
One night when I was at class, she steals my gun and leaves with it. So, hey, that's not too stable either.
I've learned to stand in my power and not to yield, and definitely be more cautious.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McFedries versus Whitfield, step forward, please.
21-year-old student Desiree McFedries is suing her cousin, 21-year-old business student Tiara Whitfield, for damaging her car in a hit-and-run accident. Tiara is countersuing, claiming Desiree smashed out her truck window and stole her stereo.
Miss McFedries, the defendant is your cousin.
Yes.
And she borrowed your car.
Yes.
You acknowledge you borrowed her car.
Yes.
You had an accident with the car.
Yes.
And you left the scene of the accident.
Yes.
She not only damaged your car, but you
Right.
damaged another car, this
Yes.
hit and run. And while your insurance company paid for the damage to the other car,
Right.
they did not pay for the damage to your car, which was substantial. You
Yes,
want
ma'am.
Miss Whitfield to.
Pay me.
She has a couple of reasons why she says she doesn't have to pay you. So tell me when she borrowed the car.
In August, she borrowed my car.
August what date?
30th.
August 30th, she borrowed the car. She came home and she told her she had had an accident.
Right. She told me it happened in the state of Iowa at Davenport, which it didn't. It happened in Bettendorf, which is a different county.
Okay.
So,
And she didn't tell you it was a hit and run.
right, not at first.
Subsequently, you found out through the police.
Right. I called the police from her cell phone, and she left the scene again. So the police said there has nothing in. So,
Okay, so you called the police where she said she had this accident and they hadn't had a report of an accident.
Right.
But it turns out that it was in another county and she was trying to
right. So detective
confuse you.
Right. The next day, a detective called my house looking for me, saying my car was involved in the accident.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Her car in a hit-and-run accident. Tierra says Desiree owes for smashing her truck window and stealing her stereo.
Can I see pictures of your car, please?
Yes, sir.
All right, Miss Whitfield, so what you're going to do is you're going to tell me how you had this. Oh, this is some accident. You're going to tell me about the accident, where you had it, why you left, and why you're not responsible to the damage to her car. Let's go.
Okay. It was actually like on the border of Bettendorf and Davenport. It's the same county. It's two different cities. I was getting ready to go through the intersection. The light had changed red. I tried to brake. I was too late, and I slid into the intersection, and an oncoming car going in the opposite or going in the other direction had hit her car. I was extremely scared. I left the scene of the accident. I went straight back to my house.
Why did you do that?
I was scared. I was
Scared
panicking.
of what?
I was scared. I mean, I don't know. I left. I was scared. It was my first reaction to go home.
Were you speeding?
No.
Really?
That's
Can I see
not
the
what
police?
the.
Can I see the police report?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. So you weren't speeding?
No.
Had a suspended driver's license?
Yes.
So what were you doing driving in the first place?
I asked her to take me twice.
And she didn't take you, so that means you drove?
Yes.
You're an idiot. All right, next. What was your license suspended for?
Non-payment of fines.
What kind of fines?
For driving without a license and a speeding ticket.
Okay, so good. So now we're nervous, we're scared, we take off, and now I understand the accident. Now you're going to tell me why you're not responsible for paying for the damage to her car.
Okay, when I had arrived back at my house, I came inside and I said, I really messed up, but I'm going to pay for your car to get fixed. At that point, she just started flipping out and screaming, yelling, saying that she didn't care about the car or whatever. She just didn't want to go back to prison. She was on parole. She had 30 days left on parole. She did not want to go back to prison. Therefore, she was like, I said, don't worry about it. I'm going to pay for your car to get fixed. I'm going to do whatever it takes so that you don't get in trouble, so you don't get held responsible. She, however, I don't know, thought that I was just telling her whatever she wanted to hear, which was not true. She got hysterical. She left. Then I left my house. The next day, however, came along. Everything that happened, it was like I came in, I told her what happened.
Do you love it?
That's great.
It's great. Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
Okay, so the reason why I feel like I do not owe her is because when I came in and I told her I was going to pay for her car, she was like, she didn't care about the car or whatever. She did not want to go back to prison. Then the next day...
Were we just there?
The next day she came to my house. I was there. However, I guess she assumed that I wasn't. She had 4 girls with her. She knocked on my door. After she thought that I was not home, her and the girls broke a window out of my truck and stole my speakers and my amp out of my truck. I was on the phone with the police the whole entire time. Then after I talked to the police and I went down to the police station, she brought my stuff back. Before that, she had called me and she asked me, please do not press charges on her for breaking the window out of my truck and stealing my stuff because she would go back to jail. And I told her, I was like, well, it really didn't make sense because I was going to go to the police station and let them know that I was the one driving her car.
But you hadn't done that?
No, not yet.
Not yet. When did you plan on doing that? So far, 24 hours at least have passed since the hit and run.
It was not.
When were you planning to go?
I actually went to the police department in Bettendorf right after I left the police department in Davenport and gave my statement, and they wrote me tickets.
That wasn't until after she broke into your truck.
But I had totally...
Am I correct?
Yes,
That wasn't until after she broke into your truck.
Yes.
Oh, good. Why did you break into her truck?
First of all, it's not her... Sorry.
Did you break into the truck?
Because my cousin told me go get his speakers out of there. So I did, yes.
Whose truck is it?
Her baby daddy's brother, Cedric Hall.
Her
Sorry.
baby daddy's brother. It's so hard to figure out this mishpacha, family tree. You know what I'm talking about? Father, sister, aunt, uncle. These are things I know. Cousin. You see how language expands.
Sign of the times.
Sign of the times. Who does the truck belong to?
It belongs to me.
Show me the title.
I don't have it with me, but I can mail it to you.
Where did you think you were coming today?
I didn't bring it with me because I didn't know that it was going to be necessary. But at the time, it was still in his name.
Well, if it was still in his name at that time, madam, is what you're telling me, that you either bought, traded, etc., the truck afterwards?
No. It was my truck the whole time.
The title is not in your name, then it is not your truck.
Okay, well, it was in his name. The truck was in my possession.
Then you have no cause of action against her.
Okay.
Perfect. How much does it cost to fix your car?
$4,000.
Show me. Based upon the Kelly Blue Book, if this vehicle were in excellent condition,
right,
and you were a private party, it would be worth $1,125. You understand?
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to have to find yourself a car for $1,500, because I think that's reasonable. You got to do the right thing, Miss Whitfield. Can't do the wrong thing. You understand? And then make excuses for it. You're just lucky you didn't kill somebody. Speeding on a suspended license. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. Your counterclaim's dismissed because you are not the owner of the property that you claim she damaged. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't know she had a suspended license at the time.
I have places I need to be. If nobody else is going to take me, then I still have to get there.
It's just a back and forth games. I don't know.
I watched her carrying my speakers and my amp from my truck into her car.
Yes, that happened, but we solved that. The police already solved that.
I told her I was going to pay her. She flipped out. She said she didn't want me to. Or not so much that she didn't want me to, that she just didn't want to go back to jail.
You know what? I love her, but I don't know. We're still family. So.
Travel agent Conra Rose and her boyfriend, Donald Rohrbaugh, are suing assistant restaurant manager Noemi Perez and her son, 8-year-old Brandon, for damage to a rented car. Conra and Donald claim Brandon ran into it with his bicycle.
Now, this is case number 379 on the calendar in the matter of Rose versus Perez. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Who was driving the rental car? Okay. Leave the papers. Okay. Mr. Rohrbaugh, you were driving.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Rose had rented the car.
Yes, ma'am.
How are you related to her?
Girlfriend, boyfriend.
For how long?
It's been about a year.
Why were you driving a rental car?
Because my car had broke down and I was over in that area at the time to see my mechanic.
What was wrong with your car? Had it been in an accident?
No, ma'am.
Just broke down?
Yeah, I just got back from Alaska and drove from Seattle down to San Luis Obispo, California, and the transmission went out on it.
So why didn't you rent a car?
Oh, she's a customer.
I know this is really probably not important to the case, because your case says that the rental car that you were driving collided with this young man who was riding his bike.
Yes, ma'am.
He went into the windshield. He was injured.
Right.
And you want his mother to pay for the windshield on the rental car. That's what the lawsuit is, right?
That's right.
I just want to know. Mr. Rohrbaugh, we just want to know.
That's right. Okay.
Right. Okay. Now, at what time of the day or evening did your car come into contact with this young man?
It was about 4:30.
On what date?
The 10th of October.
And where were you going?
I was looking to find my mechanic.
What do you mean you were looking to find your mechanic?
Well, my mechanic, he was getting home from work, and so I was over by his house.
Had you been there before?
Yes, ma'am.
You've been on that street before?
Yep.
What had you done prior to 4:30 that day?
Well, I already been over to the house,
What house?
to my mechanic's,
What time did you go to your mechanic's house?
somewhere right about 4 o'clock. He was not there, so then I drove further, and then
Drove further where?
out by Los Osos Valley Road
What did you go there for?
to spend more time waiting.
Why didn't you just sit in front of his house?
Well, I just didn't do it. I didn't wait there.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't go anywhere and have a cocktail, did you?
Oh, no. No, not at all.
Now tell me what happened as you were driving down the street at 4:30 in the afternoon, coming back to your mechanic's house after having gone someplace else to sit and wait for him, rather than wait for him in front of his house.
The defendant had come out off the sidewalk and went right into the windshield, into the car.
He was on his bicycle, right?
Oh, yeah.
And where did his bicycle hit your car?
Right in the front right corner.
Show me a picture.
Okay, if I'm driving this car here.
Don't you have a picture of the
Yes,
car?
ma'am. Right here. There's the windshield, and there's a little dent right here. And I had spotted a footprint on that back window. It was after it was all said and done, I had happened to spot it.
So what you're saying is that a bike hit the side of your car and his head went right into the windshield.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you wearing a helmet?
No,
Why not?
because I don't have one.
You mean your mother lets you ride a bicycle without a helmet?
No,
You took the bike without her permission?
yes,
Did you take the bike without her permission?
yes.
Whose bike was it?
My cousins.
How old is your cousin?
5 years old.
5? How old are you?
8.
You don't ride a bicycle?
Yes.
Well, my question is, where's your helmet? You let him ride a bicycle without a helmet?
He was not supposed to leave the house. And
I don't care
no,
if he wasn't supposed to leave the house. He rides a bicycle. He says he doesn't have a helmet.
He doesn't have a bicycle.
He has access to a bicycle, madam.
And
You have a young cousin that lives with him
yes, I do.
who has a bicycle.
Right.
The bicycle that went into this car. Buy him a helmet.
Well, okay.
He could have been dead.
Yeah, thanks to him.
So let me ask you this question, madam. Did you hire an attorney?
No, I didn't, Your Honor.
Why not?
Because I did not believe that this gentleman would even...
I'm talking about hiring an attorney to sue him.
Well, first of all, I don't have the money.
You don't need money to hire an attorney. It's your belief that he hit your son and your son was injured. Were you in the hospital?
Yes.
For how many days?
1.
You start out with the premise that if a car hits a child, it's the car's fault. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
When you're in a residential neighborhood, which this was, with that cars parked along the sides of the street,
Yep.
and is it your statement that he came out from in between one of those cars?
It was right out of a driveway, right in front of a car.
So there are homes and a driveway and cars.
Mm-hmm.
And you're supposed to be able to, when you're driving in a residential area with a posted speed limit, you're supposed to be able to stop your car on a dime. Because 99.9% of the time, when a car hits a kid, it's the car's fault.
Well, the speed limit was 25 in there, but I was not doing 25. I just wanted to state that.
Well, you don't know that at all.
What's that?
That you were not doing the speed limit or you were going over the speed limit. I don't know that at all, because until this incident happened with this young man, you weren't much paying attention to how fast you were going. You were going at a reasonable rate of speed. You were coming back to look for your mechanic after having gone for a little ride around. And you're not paying much attention to whether you're going 10 miles an hour or 15 miles or 20 miles an hour.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Rented car when 8-year-old Brandon Perez ran into him with his bicycle. Brandon says it was Donald who ran into him.
Why weren't you driving?
I wasn't driving because
You weren't driving because what?
We had taken the car over to Arizona. I drove back from Arizona. I was tired, so he knew where the mechanic lived, so he went.
I thought he said he was coming back from Alaska and his car broke down.
No. He was in Alaska fishing back in August.
Yes.
And then I flew to Seattle, met him. Car broke down. The transmission went out on our way down. The car had been broke down for 3 weeks or more.
You have the rental agreement on the car?
I do, and I didn't
I'd like to take a look at it.
I did not bring that with me.
Why not?
I didn't know I was supposed to. I should have brought it. I didn't. I
would like to see whether he was I would like to see whether he was an authorized... Who did you rent it from?
Enterprise.
Was he an authorized driver on the car?
Yes.
Did you take out insurance when you rented the car?
I did not, because I have Allstate, and it covers...
You have Allstate, and it covers what?
It covers me when I rent a car.
So then why are you suing him?
Well, his insurance doesn't cover a rental car. Mine does, but he was the driver.
Then you should have taken out the insurance, right?
Well, we didn't know until this happened that his didn't cover the rental car. I thought they did.
You're lucky they're not suing you.
Well,
and him.
The police report here says, that, you're saying that he didn't know how fast he was going, but we did because this rental car...
I'd like to see the police report.
Okay. Down at the bottom it says cause. It said he was in violation of entering a road unsafe. Your Honor, I know you don't like statements, but I do have one from a neighborhood. She wasn't a witness, but she's a neighbor saying the kids always ride in the street, and I have a copy of that. She couldn't come because of her work.
I believe kids always ride in the street. Miss Rose, that's what I'm saying to him. That's what kids do.
But she's saying that she and other neighbors have said that it's a wonder they haven't hit him before because they dart out.
They didn't. He did.
Excuse me, Your
My
Honor.
grandson doesn't ride in the street.
Just a second. I have grandchildren that ride in the street with a helmet.
I don't.
Miss Rose, you made a mistake. The mistake was if you let somebody else drive a car that you've rented, you have to make sure that they have insurance so that if you have an accident in the car, then the damage to the car is covered. What I'm telling you is you're lucky they're not suing you. They may not be successful, but in the minds of most people, as between him and your car's supposed to be careful. This is a pretty serious impact. It smashed the windshield. And if what you're saying is he was coming out of a driveway, that's not a very long way.
He was doing a wheelie off the side, and he's going very fast. And I have a perfect driving record.
How do you know? Just a second. How do you know he was going
in the air fast? That's why he was flying.
How can he fly?
Off the curb. It wasn't down the driveway. It was off the curb.
Then you saw him before.
I saw him when he hit the car.
Then you saw him. No, if you saw him when you hit the car, that's not seeing him before.
Well, I saw him, but I was the passenger. I said,
well, if you saw him and you were the passenger, then he should have been going slowly enough so that he could have stopped. And that's what I'm saying to you. What do you want?
I was just going to say, he came out of there real fast. He was pedaling hard.
Just a second. You saw him pedaling hard?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Then you should have been able to stop if you were going slowly enough. In a residential neighborhood, sir. That's what I'm saying to you. This may not be sufficient for him to have a successful lawsuit against you, but I'm telling you, it's the height of chutzpah for you to sue him for going into your windshield. Your case is dismissed. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It's true. I was in a residential area. I know there's kids around. And, what do you do? Just stop? Just not move in the residential area?
It's amazing how can an adult sue a kid for driving his bicycle or riding his bicycle and expect to get money after hurting my son. It's ridiculous.
And now the next case.
All parties in a matter of Cutts versus Cutts. Step forward, please.
21-year-old bill collector Sean Cutts is suing his brother, 24-year-old personal trainer Donald Cutts, for kicking his car during an argument. Donald admits he slapped Sean, but denies kicking his car.
What's your first name?
Sean.
And yours?
Donald.
And your brother's?
Correct.
You had a girlfriend. This is the girlfriend.
Correct.
She says that she had some sort of words with your brother. You went over there to straighten it out.
Correct.
And it is your claim that he kicked your car and dented it.
Correct.
He says he hit you, but he didn't hit your car. Who do you live with?
I live on my own now.
At the time of this incident?
I lived with my mother.
And you?
With my mother also.
So after this incident, you moved out?
That's correct.
Okay. Let's see if we can resolve this and make it nice. Okay, when did this happen?
On April 8th of 2003.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Teresa Smith.
Teresa, tell me what you told Sean in April of 2003.
Okay, well, Sean kept on calling the house like 2 or 3 times, and Donald got mad because I think he was waiting for a phone call from his girlfriend or something. And he got mad and he got in my face, started yelling at me, and
So Sean was out of the house?
Yeah, he was at work.
And you were at home?
Yeah.
You were living with them at the time?
Yes, I was.
With the 2 boys and their mother?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
And so Donald got annoyed because Sean called, you were talking to him on the phone, and Donald was waiting for a phone call.
Yeah.
He got in your face and said what?
He was calling me the B word, telling me...
Saying nasty things to you?
Yeah, basically.
So you called Sean and told him?
Oh, I left the house. I left down the street to go call the police first, and then Sean.
Why the police?
Because he got in my face. I thought, you know, he raised his hand to me, so I thought he was going to hit me.
He did raise his hand?
Yes, he did. And so I left the house, and I called the police. And then after I called the police, I called Sean to let him know what was going on.
And he came home?
And he came home, yes.
What happened when you came home, Sean?
I went down the street where she was in front of Big Lots, the payphone. Got her story of what happened. Went up to the house to find out what went on with my brother. We then got in an argument.
Who got into an argument?
Me and my brother. Started arguing in the front yard.
Tell me about the argument.
Basically, just asking him, you know, why are you getting in Teresa's face and why are you getting upset because I'm calling and so on and so forth.
What did he say? What was his response?
I really don't know. He was just yelling and screaming. He was just got in an argument.
Okay. And then what happened?
Just kept arguing. He slapped me. I got in my car to drive away, and he kicked my car. And I drove off and went down the street to report to the police.
I'm listening.
Okay. The argument started on April 8th. I was waiting for a phone call that day. However, when my brother did call and Teresa did speak to him, I was in the middle of an important phone call with my fiance, and he tends to call for no apparent reason, anything that has to do with any importance at all. And
so your conversation with your fiance was important, and he was just calling to say hi.
That's correct, I assume.
But you weren't speaking to your fiance on the phone when he called?
Yes, I was. I answered the call waiting.
Well, if you answered the call waiting, then you would say call back.
Yeah, he said it was important, and so I let him speak to her.
Well, that happened once.
Yes.
And then?
Well, they tend to talk for, just to say hi and see how everybody's doing. And
each other.
Okay, well, they talk.
That's what they do when they have.
Okay, well, they were talking and...
About, to you, nonsense. When you were talking to your fiance, somebody else might listen to it and say, that's nonsense.
Yes.
Okay, so you were being judgmental. Your nonsense was more important than their nonsense.
Well,
Donald,
yes.
Your nonsense was more important than their nonsense. I want to know why you got in her face.
I did not get into her face. She overheard me from what I was saying to my mom about their situation, talking. I had to get off the phone. At that time, she started saying things in the other room.
Like what? Saying things to who?
Just mouthing off about the situation to me and my mom, just to let herself be heard. Then after that, it kind of escalated. I said something back, and we ended up just in a yelling match. Then I kept on telling her to get out of my face, get out of my face. Then she said she was going to call the cops and go down the street. And at that time, my brother came back up to the house, and he said the cops were called, and why'd I get in his girlfriend's face? And I said that we were both arguing and we were screaming at each other, and he said, well, you're going to jail, you're going to jail. He left the house and started to walk out. Well, he started mouthing off to me, so I walked out with him. He said some unpleasant things about my fiancée, and so I went and slapped him when he was in his car. I just tapped him basically on his face because he made me mad. So at that time, he left, and I was proceeding to gather up my things to go over to my friend's house.
So you're saying at that point, yeah, you did nothing else. You didn't kick his car.
No, I didn't.
Can I see the pictures, please?
Yes.
How come you're not complaining about him hitting you?
Oh, I mean, he at least didn't punch me.
When did you take these photographs?
Right after the incident, when the cops pulled up.
Well, you may not have understood it, sir, but you kicked his car. As I'm looking at this car, and there's only one big, huge footprint on it. I mean, it's not the kind of car that's all banged up. That's it. One huge, big footprint. Let me see the estimate.
I chose the...
Did your mother ask you to leave the house, or did you decide to leave on your own?
She asked me to leave as well.
Okay. All right, you have one estimate for $405. Is that right, sir?
Correct.
Have you always not gotten along, or is this just a recent thing?
Just a little fights every now and then, brotherly, you know, family things.
Have you spoken to each other since April?
No, ma'am.
Listen, you can let it go on longer. It's over. Going to get the $405. Going to fix your car. You getting married? You have the same fiancé, or is that?
Yes,
over?
I do.
You getting married soon?
Hopefully.
Okay. Why don't you just shake hands and make me feel better? Okay, good. Thank you. That's all.
Flags are huge. You may step out.
No one really said I kicked the car, no witnesses or anything. I believe I didn't cause the damage.
I'm just glad it's over, get my car fixed, and go on with my life.
It was just a random day that words were exchanged and it got a little bit out of control.
Basically, he never liked me.
I'm far away now from it all, so it doesn't really matter to me anymore.
I just don't want my brothers to fight.
Suing his ex-girlfriend, airline reservationist Katrina Wallace, for the return of his child support payments. Michael claims Katrina lied about the paternity of her child.
This is case number 37 on the calendar in the matter of Shaw versus Wallace. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Shaw, it is your claim that the defendant defrauded you to the tune of many thousands of dollars because she told you that you were the biological father of her child, and for a substantial period of time you paid her child support, and then at some point you decided to verify that claim. You had a paternity test done, and it turns out that you are not the child's biological father, and you want the support payments back.
Correct.
When did you begin dating Miss Wallace?
I met Miss Wallace approximately May of '99.
And how long did you date her?
5 to 6 months. About the third or fourth month, she told me that she missed her cycle and that she was pregnant with my child.
What did you say to her?
I was a little, surprised, but I knew that, we'd had sex, unprotected sex, and I knew it was possible.
Why did you do that? I'm going to ask her the same question.
That's something that I do occasionally.
How many children do you have?
I have 3 children, 3 girls.
How old are they?
They are 26, my daughter here. I have a 19-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Quite a lapse there between judgments.
Yes, that's why I was kind of excited about, I wasn't disappointed about the fact that she was pregnant because it had been like 15, 16 years since I had a child, so I wasn't totally against the idea.
Oh, how old is your child?
My child is 2 also.
2 also?
Yes.
So you were having sex with several women at the same time?
No, Your Honor, that's not the way it occurred.
How many?
I was only having sex with her at the time.
Well, you have another child who's 2.
Well, there's about 6, 7 months difference in ages. The way it happened was Katrina and I started having problems shortly after she became pregnant. And approximately when she was 2 to 3 months pregnant, I knew that there wasn't going to be a relationship between the 2 of us. So I told her, I said, look, this is not going to work between us. I'm basically moving on. The only thing I can do at this point is help you support my child. And I moved on to a new relationship.
Didn't you ever question the fact that maybe this wasn't your child?
A little.
What do
not
you mean
much.
a little?
I kind of jokingly said to her, was she sure that, that I was the father?
Do you have other children?
Yes.
How many children?
A 19-year-old and my 2-year-old.
Go ahead.
She got very upset when I questioned her and almost belligerent. And so I kind of backed off the notion that, she was telling the truth, that it was my child. So,
had you ever been to court at any other time, Mr. Shaw, with regard to issues of paternity, custody, visitation with any of your other children?
Yes, once.
So you know how to get to court?
Yes.
Okay. At what point, sir, did you decide to question the paternity of this child?
Well, several months after Malik was born, seemingly Katrina would interfere with the 2 of us trying to bond. She didn't support me as a father. She didn't support us spending time together. I would try to take him out of town with me like I would do with my younger child, and she would tell him, no, he can't go. Or I would try to keep him for several days, and most of the time she would say no. On one instance, approximately 6 to 8 months ago.
So why didn't you go to court, Mr. Shaw?
Well, it wasn't that she wouldn't let me see him at all. It's the fact that she wouldn't, if I asked for permission to take him out of town.
You're not supposed to ask her for permission. If you want to spend quality time with the child, then you go to court. Was there some other reason why you didn't want to take this matter through the courts? Did it have to do with money?
I don't think so, no.
You have a business?
Yes, I do.
What kind of business do you have?
I own several barbershops in the Atlanta area.
And how much support were you giving Miss Wallace?
I started off at $300 a month, and mind you that I had 2 other children that I was paying the same amount of support to, and I raised it approximately $50 every 6 to 8 months or so, equally.
So how much money did you give her in total?
In total, I gave her approximately $9,000.
Is that about right?
Yes, that's about right.
According to you, you took the child for a paternity test. Do you have those test results?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see them. Tell me about what happened when you took Malik for a blood test. Tell me about it.
I had, began to have little suspicions, but basically I just thought it was just me. But I was having doubts for a good period of time.
Tell me about the procedure that you used, sir. You took him on a period of visitation. You took him to a laboratory. Tell me about that. I want to know the procedure that you used.
Well, one day I asked if I could pick him up and spend some time with him. I went over, picked him up, and took him straight to the lab, and we did a paternity test, and I returned.
Which lab?
Any lab.
What?
Any lab. That's the name of the lab. It's located in Atlanta. It was the only place that I could find where I could actually do a paternity test and get the results back within a reasonable amount of time.
What was the reasonable amount of time?
This took approximately 3 weeks.
Miss Wallace, is it possible that Mr. Shaw is not Malik's father?
Yes.
So you were, in fact, having sexual relations with more than one person at the time that Malik was conceived. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. There was someone else, and I did use protection.
Are you confident that Mr. Shaw is Malik's father?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
I turned around.
Ex-girlfriend Katrina Wallace lied to him about the paternity of her child. He is suing for the return of child support.
Mr. Shaw, the way to conduct a paternity test, sir, is for all parties, including the child, to be present at the same time. You understand that?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Well, I'm going to tell you. The way you conduct a paternity test is mother, alleged father, and the child go for testing at the same time so that you can identify him.
Yes.
She says, yes, that is Mr. Shaw, and that is my child. Do you understand?
I understand.
So we are going to adjourn this case. And you're going to go and schedule a paternity test, a DNA test, with the 2 of you and the child present at the same time. Clear? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
And then we'll all come back here when I get the results. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Williams versus Coleman. Step forward, please.
22-year-old homemaker Demesia Williams is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old rapper William Coleman, for giving away her ferret while she was in a women's shelter.
Miss Williams, you want the defendant to pay for your ferret.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you buy the ferret?
I bought it the day after my birthday last year.
Give me the date, please. I don't know when
March
your birthday
14th.
is.
March 14th.
And how did the defendant come into possession of your ferret?
I had some trouble at home, and I had to leave and go to a facility to where I couldn't take him with me, so I asked him to keep him for me.
What date did you go to the facility?
On May 6th.
So you had the ferret for about 6 weeks?
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of facility did you go to?
It was a facility for women of domestic violence.
The defendant was your boyfriend?
Correct.
He was the person who was abusing you?
No, ma'am.
And when, for the first time, did you ask for the ferret back?
I asked him for the ferret back in January of this year. I went to his house, and he wasn't there, but I told his stepfather that I...
So 7 months later, you asked for it back?
Correct.
And did he give it back to you in January of '03?
No, he did not. When
did you ask for it again?
I asked for it again a couple of weeks later, about the first or second week of February.
So a month later?
At the first time I asked for it, it was about the end of January, so it was only a couple of weeks later.
Okay. Shh, I'm going to get to you in a second. And the end of January, what did he say?
I didn't get a response back from him because, like I said, at the time I was at his house. He wasn't home. I spoke to his
stepfather. Did you look for the ferret?
No, I did not. But
how long did you remain in the shelter?
I was in the shelter for 11 months.
So from May of '02 until
April
of 2003.
Correct.
You were in the shelter, so how could you ask for the ferret back in January if they didn't allow ferrets there?
At the time, they were going to be placing me in my own apartment.
But you didn't go into your own apartment.
Right.
So then you couldn't have the ferret back in January. And you couldn't have the ferret back in February.
Right, and that was at the time that I had asked my boyfriend, Autumn, if he could keep him for me. His sister wanted a ferret, so I was going to let them take care of the ferret.
How much money did you give Mr. Coleman? I gather no longer your boyfriend because you had a new boyfriend.
Right.
How much did you give him to take care of your ferret for the 11 months that he had the ferret?
I didn't give him anything at the time.
Just a second. You didn't give him anything?
Right.
How much money did you give him towards veterinarian bills, if any?
Nothing. But
when did you get a new boyfriend?
In December.
While you were in the shelter?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, are you serious with me, Miss Williams? For the ferret, sir.
Okay, for starters, she only paid for about 2 or 3 bags of food, and the ferret was in my care since June 24th, which she has down here.
Mr. Coleman, Mr. Coleman.
Yes, ma'am.
She says she didn't pay for anything.
Yeah, well...
But so you're being very honest with me, is that right?
Exactly.
You're just not paying attention.
Yeah, I'm being honest, but I'm not paying
No, you're just not paying attention.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So why don't you just, instead of doing the drill that you want to drill, why don't you just answer my questions?
Yes, ma'am.
What happened to the ferret?
The ferret didn't have any vaccinations that he was supposed to get, therefore he got sick. He didn't get attention that he therefore needed because I was on the road doing shows. I'm a rapper. And she knew this, so that's what happened.
You did not give me a whole story. Where's the ferret?
The ferret passed away.
When?
March 18th.
Who was watching the ferret?
I did the best I could. My mother's scared of it. My stepfather was gone.
At the time, he told me that his mother gave the ferret away. He didn't tell me that the ferret died.
He wanted to spare you.
And it's like he could have told me that the ferret was not getting the proper care because he did not tell me that he was still going on the road because of different things.
Madam, you had this ferret for 6 weeks. You did not develop a loving attachment for it that you couldn't get over. You managed to find, listen to me, you managed to find a new boyfriend in December. And if you were in love with this ferret and wanted all kinds of compensation, then you would have found some way to have the ferret go into his possession. This is the boyfriend in December of '02.
Correct.
Rather than waiting until the end of January of '03, the end of January of '03, according to you, not according to him, by the way, to ask for this thing back.
At the time we were
Courts
still
are very
together.
busy places. We have no time for nonsense. Get a life and get a new ferret. That's all. Case dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I had an issue that happened the week before I got him that made me very depressed at the time, and I wanted to get the ferret to fill the void of what happened.
I thought it was just ruling. I knew before I even came that's how it was going to be. I don't understand the reason for the lawsuit, and I'm happy that the judgment turned out the way that it did.
I asked him if he still had food, and he would tell me that he was fine on food and everything like that. That's why I only had a chance to buy 3 bags, because it's like I knew that food couldn't last that long, and apparently he was lying, and that's why the ferret died.
I continued to ask her to get it out of my house. So I'm glad it's over. I'm not glad it died. I let it stay there because...
The next case.
All parties in the matter of Camper versus Iglesias. Step forward, please.
Accountant Colleen Camper is suing her former landlords, Eloisa and Paul Iglesias, for the return of her personal belongings. The defendants are countersuing, claiming Colleen's children broke their widescreen TV.
Mrs. Camper, you and your family rented a room from the defendants. And according to your complaint, they kept your property when you moved out. You want your property back. Mr. and Mrs. Iglesias, I don't think deny the fact that they have your property. You have their property?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do.
Yes. What kind of property do you have that belongs to Mr. and Mrs. Camper?
There's some of their clothing, a computer, a couple of shelves, and pretty much it.
I have a list.
Let me see.
And this is just a generalized list.
Did you know each other before you rented this room?
No.
How did you find the room?
The neighbor across the street introduced us.
Okay. And why were you looking for a room? Had you been evicted?
We were supposed to be moving into another house that the neighbor across the street owns, and 2 days before we were going to be moving in, all of a sudden the girl that was supposed to be moving out didn't move out. So then we already had given our 30 days where we were at.
All right. She's got another story. In any event, you moved into their room. What kind of rent were you supposed to pay?
$600 a month.
Now let's get to the counterclaim. Counterclaim says that they owe you for rent because they didn't give you 30 days notice.
No, they didn't give us a notice.
Okay, fine. Where is the lease that they have that requires them to give you notice?
It was a verbal agreement.
No. You want them to give you notice, you have to give them a lease. Other than that, they're month to month, they can leave whenever they want. So you're not entitled to rent because they didn't give you 30 days notice. So let's eliminate that. Let's go to damage to the television set, because that's what really this whole case is all about. You claim that their 2 children damaged your 50-inch television set. I'm ready to hear evidence of that.
We went to a party. We didn't come home till about 12 o'clock at night. When we came home, her children were unattended downstairs by themselves watching our TV. And I had asked her when she moved in to please be careful with the TV because it's my husband's favorite TV. And she said, don't worry. You know, that's why we put a TV in their room. Every room upstairs has a TV.
Okay, so the children were downstairs watching television. Do you remember what they were watching?
Yes, I bought a movie, Daredevil, and they were watching the movie on DVD on our TV.
Okay, so they were watching it, and it was working?
Yes.
So?
Well, it was working, but we thought it was the video that we had purchased. There was a big red blob in the middle, and we didn't pay attention to it. We thought, okay, well, it's the DVD disc. We'll just turn it back to the store and get a new one because it's broken. In the morning when we woke up, we turned the TV on. The dot was still on there. And my husband kept switching the channels, and he says, well, there's something wrong with the TV. And then that's when my son told us what the kids had told him. And then she came down.
Just a second.
None of that's right.
Shh. Step up. Tell me your name.
Esteban.
Esteban, you weren't at home that day, is that right?
I wasn't home. I wasn't home when that happened.
Did you speak to the boys?
Yes.
Which boy did you speak to?
Cameron.
Which one is Cameron? Step up. When did you speak to Cameron?
The night when we were downstairs.
And you found that there was this dot on the television set?
Yes.
What did Cameron tell you?
Cameron told me that the oldest one slammed him against the TV.
That his brother slammed him? Is that right?
No, that is not right.
What did your older brother do to you?
We weren't playing around that day. We were sitting down and watching the TV.
Come up here. Just pay attention to me. How did the TV get broken?
I do not know.
Well, tell me what you think.
I think that there was a magnet on the TV that changed the TV color.
A magnet?
Yeah.
How did that, what kind of a magnet changed the TV color?
I don't know. I'm just saying that could have happened, what I thought happened.
Mm-hmm. So, Estefan is lying when he says that you told him that you were fooling around with the TV.
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
When they came home, what were you watching?
We were watching cartoons.
Not the video.
Not the video. When they came home, I asked her if my brother can watch Daredevil because he'd never seen it, and they said yes.
So who put the video in for you?
Esteban did.
Estefan put it in?
Yes.
Step down. Is that right?
Yes.
So they were watching cartoons. They weren't watching a video when you came home, correct?
Yes.
And you went over to the television to put in the video for them?
Yes, but when we came home, I looked through the windows to see who was downstairs because the light was on. I saw both of them playing, and they're.
That's not what I'm asking you, Estefan. They were watching cartoons. There was nothing wrong with the cartoon picture, right? There was nothing wrong with the cartoon picture on the TV.
I didn't look at that. I wasn't watching with them. I didn't even look at the TV.
Well, you should have. You have to give them back their property. Do you understand? And you're going to do that within 5 days. You can't keep their property. That's stealing. Do you understand?
Yes.
So you're going to get your property within 5 days. Make arrangements to pick it up. You need to go there with a policeman, or you can go there by yourself.
Okay.
Now, you can't prove that it was their children that broke your television set.
We weren't home when it happened. And
Well, maybe it just happened by itself. But we do know that your son put in a video. We do know that. Right?
Yes.
And we do know that you had the ability to look at that television set to see whether the cartoons that they were watching were being observed on a television screen that was broken or not. If you saw them downstairs watching television, and if you were concerned about it, you look and see whether or not there was any damage. The only damage that you saw was after your son put in the tape, right?
We went upstairs because we had babies. I couldn't go in and to look.
Listen, I'm not faulting anybody. I'm just saying you can't prove that it was their boys that broke your television set. It's a rental that didn't turn out well. Do you rent any rooms to anyone else?
Not anymore.
Good. That's a very good idea, because when you rent rooms to people, they're going to be around your house, and you're not going to be able to tell who breaks what, especially if you leave, and you leave the house unattended. Do you understand? All right? Not a smart thing. Sorry that your television set got broken. You get your stuff back. I hope you have a nice place to live. Goodbye, good luck, and have a happy life.
Parties are excused.
First, they said that they were going to have their kid come in and lie.
I let them stay in our house.
They pushed their kid into the TV.
They left their children unattended downstairs.
And that's what she called me up on my phone to tell me about right before we came down here.
They were wrestling, playing around in the living room.
And he didn't.
They broke the TV.
They had nothing to do with it.
I guess we're out of luck.
That spot, whatever it was a little spot. It was already there.
Just be glad to get their stuff out of my house.
It'll be nice to have my own clothes back again.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Warren, the defendant and you were involved in some sort of a relationship. You had a car accident at some point. When was that?
I had a car accident in April of 2005.
And you worked out an arrangement with Mr. Dempsey, who had lost his driver's license because of something. Why?
DUI.
Shh. I'm not looking at you. Because of why?
I did receive a DUI.
So your license was suspended?
Yes. The court never filed on it, but...
Oh, listen to me. I'm moving on.
Yes.
So you didn't have a driver's license. So you had a car accident, you had no car, he had an SUV and no driver's license. So the two of you worked out an arrangement.
Well, Your Honor, I always had a car. My grandparents always had a car for me.
I'm not interested in that you could have had your grandparents' car. You didn't drive your grandparents' car. You drove his SUV. And you drove his SUV for how long?
About 7 months.
And while you had his SUV, you put in certain improvements in the car.
Correct.
Certain things that every car absolutely positively needs. Why don't you tell me what you put in the car?
Something like a suspension. There was things called springs. I don't even know what these things were for, just to make the car look better, lift it. Everything was to lift the Expedition.
So you put in something to lift it up higher, to make it look bigger.
It's flashy, correct.
Flashy. And what else did you do to the car while you had it in your possession?
There's an exhaust that he wanted to put on it.
That made it louder?
Correct. There was already one on there already, but he...
What else did you do to the car?
That's about it. There was like 3 things put on there to make it higher, and the exhaust and everything like that.
And in what month did you put on these flashy things?
September.
And how long did you drive it afterwards?
About a month afterwards. He got his license back in September, the end of September, and we broke up in October.
And then at some point you also bought him a stereo for a new car that he bought.
I didn't buy that for him. That was already mine.
That was
in my previous Honda that came from my accident. I had to take it out of everything.
And you gave it to him?
I did not give it to him. I loaned it to him because he had to have a Blazer. So the time we were dating, he had 2 vehicles.
And when did you loan it to him?
About the beginning of September when he bought this Blazer.
You broke up and he took the car back and you won all the money that you spent on the car?
Well, in the beginning it was a loan.
That's what the lawsuit is
correct.
about. How much money did you pay him during the time, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, during the 7 months that you had the car? How much did you pay him for the use of the car?
I didn't pay anything to him for the use of the car. The insurance on
And
the
how
car,
much-
I was making payments on the insurance. And I
How
approved-
much did you pay on the insurance?
The insurance was...
Don't tell me what it was. That's not what I asked you. I know what it was. I asked you how much did you pay for it. Your agreement was, according to him, that you were going to pay the insurance every month on the car. He says sometimes you paid it and sometimes you didn't. So my question to you is, how much did you pay for the insurance?
About $200 every month.
Show me.
I just have the page right here saying that I had insurance on it. The declaration page, I don't have. Everything else went to my house. The payment, the stub, everything like that. I made all the payments. Nothing went to his house.
Did she make all the payments on the insurance?
No, ma'am.
How many insurance payments did she make?
She made probably 4 insurance payments on the vehicle.
That's not true.
She paid them directly to the company or to you?
To the company.
If you pay them to the company, she paid them by check.
Correct. Check or cash. Half the time it was check, half the time it was cash.
How do you pay cash to an insurance company?
You pay the lady right there, she puts it in the computer.
Well, why would you pay half in cash and half by check so that you don't have a record?
I had enough cash to pay it on me at that time, so I'd pay it right then and there.
You think I believe that?
You should.
I don't. I don't. Because normal people, you are a normal person, aren't you?
Correct.
When you go in and you want to pay a bill and you have cash available, you put the cash in the bank and you draw a check for the entire amount. That way you have proof that you paid it. Otherwise you get a receipt that you paid it. You have any of those receipts?
I do not have those receipts with me.
Of course not. So she souped up your SUV, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
She wants you to pay for it. In 30 seconds or less, tell me why you should not pay for it.
Because everything was a gift until I broke up with her, and now everything's a loan, and that's why we're here.
That's
Well, tell me about the time that she put in these things that lifted up your SUV.
She was driving the vehicle.
Look at me.
She kept wanting to get the windows tinted, get things done to it.
Why would I care about that stuff?
Listen to me. Don't speak. I let you speak. I took your testimony. Now I'm talking to him.
She's a very vain girl.
Listen to me. I don't care. Tell me the conversations that you had with regard to tinting the windows, raising the SUV, putting in a new exhaust that makes it louder so that all your neighbors love you.
She wanted to do it. I said, okay, no problem. That's basically the end of it.
And you were a couple at that time.
We were.
And after you got your license back, according to your answer, Mr. Dempsey, she was still driving the car.
She was.
The SUV. And you bought another car.
I did, so she could continue driving. She had wrecked hers, and she needed that one.
Well, you acknowledge that, Miss Warren, that he bought a second car.
I did.
And he was driving the second car, and you continued to drive the SUV. Is that right?
That's correct. I didn't need to drive the SUV. That's what I'm saying. I didn't need to drive it.
But you did. Who do you live with?
My grandparents.
You pay rent?
No. I'm going to school.
Where'd you get the money for all this stuff?
That's what I'm saying. I had to put it on my credit card. That's why I'm asking for it back, so I can...
Credit cards have to be paid, Miss Warren. What kind of school are you going? What kind of school are you going to?
I'm going to the nursing school, the LVN program.
Do you work besides?
Yes, I do.
Where?
Red Lobster, 6 days a week.
Good. And you drove this SUV to get to and from work?
Correct.
The first time you got a bill, did you give him the bill?
No, I did not.
The second month that you got the bill, did you give him the bill?
No, he gave me cash, though, and I have proof of cash that he gave me, because it was not a gift. It was put on my credit card, and it was agreement he would pay it back.
I don't believe that, Miss Warren, at all.
Well, there's statements right here that he gave me $160 cash and then $400 cash.
Did you give it cash?
No.
Yes, he did.
At no time. I paid for several things, almost everything during the relationship. I paid for gas every day. I never gave her any cash in repayment of a loan.
I don't think you did either.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The relationship is...
Her ex-boyfriend, Jeremy Dempsey, owes for money she spent to fix up his SUV. Jeremy says the improvements were Desiree's idea.
Now, I believe that you thought that you were going to be able to maintain this relationship and that you were going to drive the SUV. He bought a second car to drive. When he got his license back, leaving you with that car, the fact that the relationship is over does not convert these things that you put on because you like to drive a car like that into, I'm speaking, into a loan that he has to repay. Aside from the fact that once you drove a car, let's say you drove it and it was an SUV, and let's say you'd have to spend $200-300 a month in order to rent a car. You didn't have to do that. So consider it the cost of a rental. The relationship is over. It's probably a very good thing, especially for you. The case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Step forward.
James Heffernan is suing the mother of his son's schoolmate, Donna Kane, for the cost to fix his son's violin. James says Donna's daughter is to blame for the damage.
Mr. Heffernan, this is your son, I assume, and it is your claim that the defendant's daughter was running down the hall, ran into your son, and damaged his very expensive violin. You want her to pay for fixing it and pay for depreciation of the violin. Ms. Kane says that it was actually your son who was running, ran into the defendant's daughter, and the violin was damaged. Neither of you were there, is that right?
That's right.
Good. So you may both be seated, and I will see you. Your first name is?
Joshua.
And yours?
Desiree.
All right, Joshua. How long have you been playing the violin?
I began in the 4th grade.
You can put it down, please.
Thank you.
And the recital was at school, is that right?
Yes.
On what date?
December 13th.
How many times had you taken the violin to school?
Oh, multiple times. I played with the school orchestra. So
often?
Yes.
And you knew it was an expensive violin?
Yes.
And when you took it to school, I'm sure your father said to you, be very careful.
Naturally.
Because you knew you had to be very careful with
Yes.
it? Because it was very...
Expensive.
Now, your first name is?
Desiree.
Desiree, do you like this young man?
Yes.
You were friends?
Yeah.
Are you in the same class?
No.
You knew each other from outside of school?
No.
No. We're both in a choir. Different choirs, but a lot of times the choirs come together.
So that's where you've seen each other?
Yes.
Yes.
And you've always had a cordial relationship?
Yes.
All right, Joshua, why don't you tell me what happened?
Well, we actually have a diagram if you'd like to see that.
I don't.
Okay. Well, I was talking to Hannah Benson over here. She's my witness. And I realized that I needed to have a special pair of shoes in order to perform later that night after I accompanied one of the choirs on the violin, and she would also accompany the choir. So I turned around and walked to go get my shoes.
And where did you have to go for your shoes?
Back down the hallway into the orchestra room where I kept them.
So you turned around.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I turned around and I started walking towards the doorway. And the doorway is at a 90-degree angle with another hallway. And so as I was walking, Desiree and I collided, and the violin was smashed.
You collided at the corner?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
So?
If she was not running, it would not have occurred. The instance would not have happened.
Were you running?
Yes.
What were you running to?
I was going back to the dressing room to get my cell phone.
Why?
To call my mom to tell her that we were about to perform.
Okay. Did you see Josh coming around the corner?
No.
Is he coming around the corner quickly or slowly?
Quickly.
Because he was going to get his shoes, right?
Yes.
Now, were you going around the corner a little bit more quickly than you had walked to where the orchestra was meeting?
It wasn't a stroll, but it's most definitely a walk.
Joshua, I asked you a very simple question. Were you walking at a quicker pace than you had walked that hallway before you had to go and get your shoes?
Yes.
Okay, so you were walking quickly too?
Yes.
Perfect. Now you can be seated, and now you can stand up. And you can sit down. Now we have the story. Your son was walking quickly. Your daughter was walking quickly, running, whatever. They collided at a corner, which one would call an...
Accident?
Yes. And when there is an accident, it's nobody's fault sometimes. So why are you here?
Well, my understanding when I had the conversation with my son was that he was walking and Desiree was running.
Well, now you know a little bit of a different story.
When I spoke to his witness, the witness said she was running and he was walking.
But just listen to what just happened here today. Because I said to him, were you walking faster to go and get your shoes than you were before you were going to get your shoes? And he said yes. She may have been walking a little bit faster. She wasn't trying to break what, maybe 3-minute mile? Is that what it is?
4-minute mile.
4-minute mile, whatever it is. I don't do that kind of running. She wasn't charging. She was going to get a cell phone. She wanted to let her mother know she was coming. So they were both walking a little bit too fast. So I don't understand why you're here, Mr. Heffernan. Accidents happen. Not on purpose, it's an accident.
Well, I didn't look at it as an on purpose.
Right. And the law, in my judgment, sir, if a child, a minor child, does something with gross negligence or does something purposefully, she was chasing him in the hall for some reason and the violin broke. But that's not what happened. They were two kids walking too fast in the hallway in school. He brought a violin that was much too expensive in all probability for him to bring to school because accidents in school do happen. So I don't know why you see, you don't have to say a thing. Sometimes things require a lawsuit, sometimes not. This is one of those knots. Have a lovely day. It's a beautiful violin. Is it fixed?
Yes.
Great. Continue to play. You look like a very nice young man, Joshua. Goodbye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's the boss.
Yeah, this is case number 534 on the calendar in the matter of Fisher versus Martin.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Mr. Fisher, Miss Friend, according to your complaint, you believe she owes you care of her during the period of time that she lived with you. Rent, expenses, etc.
Correct.
Miss Martin says that you did take care of her. She was ill. There was never any discussion of her paying back the money that you were spending in order for her to live there. When did Miss Martin move into your house, Mr. Fisher?
It was June of 2004.
How long had you had the house?
3 years prior to that.
Had you ever lived there with anyone else?
My 10-year-old son.
He still lives with you?
No, he's with his mother. He wasn't happy with the situation.
Do you still own the house?
No, I don't.
When did you sell it?
I didn't sell it. I had a lease option on it. I was asked to leave for non-payment, deriving from part of the money that she owes me, along with a couple other individuals.
That sounds like a lot of stuff there, Mr. Fisher. So this was a rental house, and you were evicted for non-payment of rent?
Correct.
That's easy. You see how easy that was?
Well, there was a lease option initially.
I don't care. It was a lease option. This is not a house you owned. Either you are an owner or a renter.
Correct.
If you are a renter, you pay rent. If you don't pay rent, you get evicted. So that's what happened.
Yes.
I just want to find out, you know, whether the fact that she wasn't paying rent in any way impacted on your ability to pay the rent because you had lived in this house for 2 years before she moved in.
What it did was encumbering her expenses, prescriptions, cell phone
So
bills.
now you're going to get to other things because you did list rent here. When she moved into the house, Mr. Fisher, was there an agreement to pay rent?
There was a verbal agreement for her to pay 1/3 of what the house payment was, of $1,080.
Is that right?
No. There was never any discussion about sharing any expenses when he
Well,
moved me in.
Ms. Martin, let me start with you. Why did you move in with him?
My husband had recently went into jail. I was going through a divorce. Steve and I were friends at the time, and we began a relationship. He insisted on me moving in with him, and he proceeded to move all my stuff in from my apartment into his house.
Were you working at the time you moved in with him?
I was.
What were you doing with your money?
I was putting it into the expenses in the house. He never asked me for money when it was time for rent, so...
So what did you do? Go shopping or pick up cleaning? I mean,
yeah,
I'm trying
stuff
to
like
decide
that.
what you
Yeah,
did.
just day-to-day stuff. I didn't save my money. I didn't sit on my money.
So you moved in June. When did you stop working? According to Mr. Fisher, you became ill and stopped working.
I stopped working in December of 2004, but I went back again in May.
Now, Mr. Fisher, in June of 2004, how much rent did Miss Martin give you towards the house?
0.
In July, how much rent?
0.
August?
0.
September?
0.
October?
0.
Would it be fair to say, Mr. Fisher, that from the time then that Miss Martin moved in, she paid you no rent?
Correct.
Why didn't you evict her?
She had no money. All the time she had no money.
Well, but at that time, Mr. Fisher, she was working.
She was not working full time.
So you understood at that time that you weren't going to get rent from her.
No, but I was assured she makes decent money, and the money was going, and it took me a considerable amount of time to figure out where her money was going.
Well, Mr. Fisher, you were evicted from the house, is that right?
Correct.
How many months behind rent were you?
2.
Here, Miss Fisher is 12 months behind in rent. So let's say, Mr. Fisher, you're a really good guy, and instead of 2 months, you gave her 3 months to pay her rent, and she paid 0. Would you tell me why, Mr. Fisher, you didn't evict Miss Martin from your house?
Your Honor, she was ill. I mean,
she was sleeping in your bed.
She was violently ill.
Listen to me.
Yes.
Mr. Fisher, she was sleeping in your bed.
Correct.
You weren't sleeping in your landlord's bed, right?
No.
So
no, I
that's
wasn't.
why your landlord evicted you.
Yes.
You got it, Mr. Fisher? What I'm telling you is, Mr. Fisher, you can't be a crybaby.
Oh.
The fact that the two of you separated, you have all kinds of reasons. She was very ill. You claim she was abusing prescription medication. You claim she was doing other things. Bottom line is, she was your girlfriend. You were sharing a bed. You were going on vacation. You were sharing meals together. And if the situation didn't take a bad turn, we wouldn't be here today. If the two of you were still together, you would have either made up your mind that you were going to be supporting Miss Martin, or you didn't want to support Miss Martin. But you don't accept a connubial relationship. A connubial relationship and a landlord and tenant relationship usually mixed like water and oil, Mr. Fisher. Right. What else do you think she owes you?
For the prescriptions, car payments, I helped her with a down payment on a 2004 Acura TSX.
Well,
Also,
let's get to, just a second, let's get to the car payments, Miss Martin. That's something that may interest me. Did Mr. Fisher make car payments for you?
We both did. Yes, he did. We both
It's your car. You should make the payments. I didn't
Right.
ask you, Miss Martin, I didn't ask you whether or not you made the payments on your car. You don't expect me to make the payments. Bert certainly doesn't want to make the payments on your car. Did Mr. Fisher make car payments for you when you were unable to do so?
Yes, he did.
Did you tell him you were going to pay him back?
No, we shared the car. We used it as like a family car.
Did he have his own car?
There was a long while where it was our only means of transportation.
From when to when was it your only means of transportation?
I bought it in October and April or May of '05 that he had his own vehicle.
What kind of car did you have Christmas of '04, sir?
I had a Ford Taurus and a Porsche 911. There was an incident.
They weren't working, Your Honor.
There was an incident, Your Honor, where she was with my son and she had a car accident with the Ford Taurus. So there was a brief time, 3 weeks approximately, where I was without a vehicle. She had totaled the front end of the vehicle.
The Taurus was wrecked about 2 months after that and out of commission for about 5 months.
Taurus, we drove the Taurus till it was wrecked again by this individual sitting next to me. He was...
What month?
May of 2005. I had also just received my Porsche back from a painter who kept it for 10 months. That's what I'm saying. I probably...
Just a second. So the Porsche 911 was being painted for 10 months?
Yeah, it was 10 and a half months.
Oh.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When two people live together.
Former live-in girlfriend Taryn Martin owes for rent, medical prescriptions, and various living expenses. Steve claims Taryn has been abusing prescription meds.
She is correct, Mr. Fisher, that you did use for periods of time her car as the family car.
No, I used the rack.
Right.
And I got...
How many months car payments?
I made 5 months worth of car payments. I have copies if you'd like, Your Honor.
I would like to see them, sir. Tell me about the conversation that you had with her when you were making those car payments.
I was assured that I would be reimbursed once the business she was doing out of my house got on its feet. And I was always told that the revenue wasn't that much. After she moved out, I started cleaning up the office. I found paycheck stubs from the escrow company that indicated she brought in about $7,800 within a 2-month time frame, which I wasn't privy to this information.
You were not working at that time, is that right, because you were full-time because you were ill?
Off and on, I was ill. I was suffering from a lot of stress. I had bleeding ulcers, and it would come back and forth every couple of months.
The only thing that I want to know from you, Ms. Martin, is did there come a time when you had a conversation with Mr. Fisher where you agreed to compensate him for making these car payments for you when you could not?
No.
Why would you think that he would give me that story now?
I don't know, Your Honor. I do have a text message from him from 2 days ago that indicates that he never wanted to sue me, but he needs money.
I'd like to see it.
The text... Can I respond, Your Honor?
I want to see it, and you can respond.
And just push this down button to read the rest.
Mr. Down, keep to see the rest of it.
Okay, so now this says, I just want it done. I won't start anything. I never wanted to sue, but I need the money. I wish I didn't, and I can't confide in you anymore except for I need it. He seems to say in this text message, Miss Martin, that he does consider this a loan. He didn't want to sue you, but he needs the money that, and I'm adding the words that you owe him. What did you want to say?
It all came into perspective for me as when I had been in a motorcycle accident. And right after that, I had also got in an accident in my garage with a wire wheel and an air compressor and got a 1-inch piece of wire right center in my pupil. Didn't have money because I just got done paying some stuff for her, which I don't have insurance. I was trying to figure out how I was going to pay for the doctor. She comes over to the house. We're not residing together. She moved three blocks away from my house, comes in and asks me for 2 car payments. And she was aware that I was literally, I turned white, I could not see. And that's when I kind of put everything into perspective as to what I was. And that's when I kind of got a little perturbed that I had done all this and it was irrelevant, that I needed, I was trying to scramble to get my stuff fixed. And
So what you're telling me, Mr. Fisher, is you were disappointed.
You just say the least.
I didn't come to him and ask him for 2 car payments. I borrowed $200 to go towards my rent at one point after I had moved out.
Why?
I needed help making my rent at the time.
But Mr. Fisher, who had taken care of you, needed some help also.
He never asked me for anything.
Mr. Fisher, quite frankly, sir, I don't believe that there was ever an agreement with Miss Martin to pay you rent. I do, however, believe that some of these car payments, the car payment was how much, Miss Martin?
$529.80.
That these car payments were made on your behalf.
Correct.
Your Honor?
What?
I also have a handwritten letter from Taryn dated 11/22 of 05 that states, I have a debt outstanding with you. I intend to pay it, da-da-da-da-da-da. So there was an acknowledgement of debt. And if there wasn't the debt, she gave me $100. I met her in Hanford 2 months ago at a park and ride where she turned around, handed me a $100 bill, and had me sign a receipt.
Tell me about this ring. What kind of ring did she give you?
She gave me her wedding ring that she retrieved when she went through the separation. She wanted to sell it. Her and I both went around Fresno.
Your Honor, I
the
have
most,
Just a second.
The
Just
most.
a second.
I'm sorry.
Giving me a whole story, Mr. Fisher. Ring?
Yes.
Did you sell it?
Yes.
How much did you sell it for?
It was $1,000.
Why did you give him the ring?
He claimed that I was using him for money and that I owed
When
him
was this,
money.
Miss Martin?
I don't remember the time that I gave him the ring.
The ring was to be utilized for the down payment on the vehicle. I put the down payment on the
How much was the down payment?
$2,000.
Did he put down $2,000 on the car?
He did.
Good. Okay, fine. So we forget about the down payment on the car. You got the ring.
And I have the appraisal for the ring.
I don't care about the appraisal. Listen, you can get an appraisal for anything. Now, you paid for prescriptions.
Yes, I did.
How much were the prescriptions?
$729.87, and here's copies of the receipts, Your Honor.
What about the prescriptions, Miss Martin?
He just went and got them for me when I was ill and offered to do it and had no problem with doing it ever.
Well, if you were making the money, why weren't you paying for your own prescriptions?
A lot of it was my cash.
Really?
Yeah, he was unemployed from November of 04 until now.
I was not unemployed, Your Honor.
All right.
And then also...
Listen, when 2 people live together and then you come to court to try to unravel these things,
Okay.
I'm speaking, nobody ends up happy. What I think is reasonable, however, is that since you both used this car and since Mr. Fisher did in fact make 5 car payments, that each of you be responsible for half of those car payments. And that's it, Mr. Fisher. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,322.50. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out. On the calendar, the matter of Parker versus Elliott. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Parker, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for bail.
Yes.
Defendant acknowledges that you posted bail for him. I think it was $300.
Yes.
But he says it was your fault that he got arrested in the first place.
Yes.
So why don't you explain to me the circumstances surrounding this arrest, Miss Parker?
Okay, it all started on February 18th of this year. We were at a club in Allen Park, Michigan, and the defendant met me up there, basically. I knew he was going to be up there. So we were getting ready to leave, and a fight broke out.
Fight broke out that had nothing to do with the two of you?
Nothing, no. So when I went up to the counter to get my coat, they didn't have it. So I was hollering at the girl who works in the coat check.
Why were you hollering at her?
Because she didn't have my coat.
Did you think she stole it?
Well, I thought she gave it away.
By mistake?
Well, I have a ticket that, goes with the ticket that they put on the coat, so I didn't understand, like, how...
All right, let's go back. Miss Parker, you go to get your coat and you give the coat check person your ticket.
Yes.
And what does she do?
She says she doesn't have it.
Well, first she goes to look for it.
Oh, yes. She goes to look for it.
Just a second. And she goes to look for it, and how long is she gone?
Not even a minute.
And comes back and says...
I don't have your coat.
Just like that. I don't have your coat.
Yes.
And what did you say to her?
I said, why? How you don't have my coat? This is mandatory coat check. Y'all make this mandatory for me to check my coat, and you don't have my coat?
And she said to you?
Nothing. She walked away and started to help someone else. and I was hollering extremely loud.
What were you saying?
Why y'all don't have my coat?
You mean you were cursing?
Yes.
At her?
Yes.
So then what happened?
So that's when it was another girl on the side of me doing the same thing because they didn't have her coat also.
A girl that you didn't know?
Well, I knew her also. And that's when a police officer walked in.
Isn't there a manager at this club?
Well, he wasn't there at the time.
Just answer my questions.
No.
Isn't there a manager at this club?
Not that I know of.
You mean the coat check girl manages the club?
I'm not sure who manages the club.
Well, it would seem to me, Miss Parker, that your recourse, if the coat check person doesn't have your coat, is to excuse yourself like a lady and go to the manager's office and say, is there a manager here who is in charge? I have a ticket for my coat, and they gave away my coat. Would you either come and look for it, because this girl seems to be ignoring me, or do something? You chose not to do that. You chose to stand there and with at least one other person create a scene, right?
Yes.
Were you drunk?
Yes.
Oh, well, you left that out, but I'm glad you told me the truth. So you were drunk and creating a scene?
Yes.
All right, and where was Sir Lancelot while you were doing that?
Well, I think it was like standing behind me somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where he was.
Is that right, Mr. Elliott?
No, I wasn't exactly behind her.
Were you there in the area?
I was there in the area.
Can you describe to me her condition when she was screaming profanities at this
She was heavily intoxicated.
misfortunate woman behind the coat check?
She was heavily intoxicated, her and her friend that were being belligerent towards the coat check people. They were just out of control. I was trying to get them to calm down, and that didn't happen.
How were you trying to?
Just tell them to wait, you know, maybe they have a ticket, you know, at the end when everybody leave, you can talk to somebody and, you know, try to get your coat. But they weren't listening.
Because they were?
They were drunk. They were intoxicated.
So then some police officers came in, is that right?
Yes, well, I wasn't there when the police officers came. I was talking to them, and a friend had recognized me from high school, so I went to go talk to her like 5 minutes, okay?
So you left them screaming at the coat check?
I just left them there.
I would have too.
Yeah, so I come back after 5 minutes of talking to her. Erica, Miss Parker, she's on the floor in handcuffs, okay? Her friend is behind the coat check counter fighting with the coat check people. You know, they got her all over the counter and everything, and, you know, it was crazy.
Out of control.
Out of control. So I go over to the coat check counter. I'm telling Marilyn, which is her friend, I'm saying, you know, calm down, Marilyn, it's going to be okay, you know. But she was just out of control. Nothing I can do. So she couldn't do anything because she was in restraint. She was on the floor. All she could do was talk. And she was just cussing and everything, you know. It wasn't nothing you could really say to her. So I tried to kneel down and talk to her. And a police officer was standing behind me and said, you can't talk to her. I said, just give me 1 minute. I just want to figure out where they're going. So he said, okay. I kneeled down and I talked to her, you know, as long as I could. Then all of a sudden, the police officer come over there to me and says, boom, slap me in handcuffs. You can talk to her all night now. And I go to jail. And I go to jail. They say on my ticket right here, interfering with police duty, you know.
Well.
What the police officer told me, the reason I was being arrested was because they was tired of Club Utopia, and I was happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's what he told me blatantly in the car while I was going to jail.
Yeah, well.
There wasn't a criminal charge. He didn't tell me I was interfering or I was being disorderly, which I wasn't. I didn't cuss at the police officers. I didn't swear or anything. I just couldn't believe I was going to jail.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was drunk, disorderly.
Claims ex-boyfriend Omar Elliott owes for bail money. Omar says he was arrested because of Erica's conduct during a night of partying.
Mr. Elliott, I agree with you, sir. But I don't agree with you that it's her fault you got arrested. It's your fault you got arrested. She was drunk, disorderly, laying on the floor in handcuffs, swearing, which is exactly where I would have left her. Her friend, the same place, and walked away with this other girl that you just met from high school.
Well, they were my friends. I was kind of concerned about what
Well, then that's what happens. When you lay down and swill, sometimes you get dirty.
Right.
However, your friend's boyfriend came down and bailed all three of you out. Is that right?
No, he didn't get out. They wouldn't allow him to get out because he had a warrant in Dearborn, so he couldn't leave.
Oh, so who paid for him to get out?
I paid for him to get out the next day.
Hey, tell me how that came about.
Okay, the next morning he calls me, and Omar says, can you pay $300 to bail me out, and I promise I'll pay you as soon as you get out. In fact, I'll even pay you $400. He says...
Did you say that to her?
I don't recall. I was a little groggy that morning.
You don't? Oh, so you were drunk too?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Oh, Mr. Elliott. Well, if you don't recall, she does, sir. this case just became much easier.
But she also called my voicemail and told me, because she was leaving derogatory messages on my phone and everything, because I didn't answer my phone.
She was leaving derogatory messages on your phone, Mr. Elliott. She says that you called her and asked her to bail you out of... Speak. Mouth moving. Okay. You called her and you promised to pay her, she says. You told her you would pay back $400. When I asked you, you said, I don't remember. I was a little groggy. So that makes my job as a fact finder very easy. She says she remembers. You say you don't remember.
Okay. She also called my phone after we were arguing and stuff. She also called me and left me a message and told me, oh, I love you. I don't want this money to come between us. You know what? I'm not even going to call you no more about the money. It doesn't even matter. You know, I don't want this to become between our relationship that we have. She also called me and told me that.
You have that message with you?
I don't have it, but that's what she said.
Well, I don't love you, Mr. Elliott. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $300. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I'm flattered. I'm glad because I needed my money.
Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Is this your daughter?
Yes, it is.
Could you stand up next to her, please? I have as many questions for you as I have for her. Miss Lundberg, the junior Miss Lundberg, according to your complaint, this used to be your boyfriend. He lived with you in your mother's home for several years. And you had an agreement with him that you were going to work. He wasn't doing much. You paid the living expenses, but that when you went to college, you were going to stop working and he was going to support you. Well, you got ready to go to college, and all of a sudden the relationship was over, and he didn't support you. So you want $5,000 from Mr. Brown because he promised that he would take care of you when you were ready to go to school.
Yes.
Mr. Brown says that he worked, that he paid rent. As a matter of fact, he paid your mother rent every month, $300. Is that true?
Yes, that is.
And you didn't pay your mother rent, and the two of you lived together, shared a room?
Yes.
He said he did give you his check whenever he worked. You put it into your account. You paid the bills, so he doesn't owe you anything. There are a few questions that I have that I just have to get off my chest. The answers to these questions, I think, are going to be a revelation to people out there. Your daughter was how old when you let him move into the house?
She was 17 and a half.
She was 17, and you let Mr. Brown move into the house?
Your Honor, she was living with her father, and due to Mr. Brown's living conditions, she asked me so he could better his life if I would be kind enough to let him move into my house and be my roommate.
I did live with my father.
When did she move into your house?
She moved into my house after she turned 18.
So now she's 18, an old lady, and she's living in your house. So he lived with you for 6 months before she moved in?
Correct.
That was a week correct?
Yes. I mean, she was with her father more than she was with me.
Miss Lundberg, I would no sooner let somebody come in and live in with my teenage daughter in my house than I would take a flying leap off the Brooklyn Bridge.
Your Honor, you don't know the living conditions he lived under. I wanted to keep him off the streets.
He wasn't your child. This is your child. Then, after she moves in with him, according to your daughter, they wanted to start a family. So they didn't start a family right away. They bought 2 dogs and 2 cats that they also moved into your house. You said that you
it wasn't like that. I mean, what it was is we gradually got one of them, and then the other one, he worked at a veterinary hospital, and somebody threw the dog out of a window on the street, and so he brought it home because he knew that I wanted that kind of dog.
At the beginning of 2005, things were going really well between Chris and I, so we bought 2 dogs and 2 cats, and they were like our kids. That's what you wrote.
We already had the cats from before.
So not only did you get him, you got a family of 2 dogs and 2 cats.
Which I protested.
Protested? I wouldn't have protested.
Well, I told him to
showed him the door.
The way he was living. I felt sorry for him.
Miss Lundberg, you're a very, very nice lady. If you feel sorry, do you have a house?
We're living in a house, yes.
Does the house have a garage?
Yes.
That's where he would be, not in the bedroom with my daughter. And the 2
she
cats
wasn't,
and the 2
Your
dogs.
Honor, she was at her father's.
She came home when she was 18.
When I was home. That's when she came home.
The majority of the time I was there when she was home. But yes, there was times when she was not home where I was at the house.
But she was not sleeping in his room. They had different rooms.
Your Honor.
The majority of the time I was in his room.
Oh, I was. Your Honor, I wasn't there all the time.
3 months after we started dating, they had asked me to come move in with them. I had a job at a restaurant at that time.
He did not have a job at a restaurant at that time. He moved in without a job, and I
Ms.
took
Lundberg,
him.
I have not finished with your mother
Okay.
because I don't think she can give me a cogent answer. I think that if she had to reflect on it now, having heard the fact that when she wasn't around, you sort of snuck around, she was being a good person, she wasn't anticipating that this whole problem started. Now you can sit down. Do you have other children, by the way?
I do.
How old are they?
27, 25, and 22.
So she's the baby?
She's the baby.
She's the last one you have to worry about?
Correct.
Had a girl. Does she still live home?
Yes.
Where are the dogs and cats?
Unfortunately, they're at my house because...
You see, you always get left with the grandchildren.
Yeah.
I take care of them.
How old are you now?
I'm 20.
Now, what makes you think Mr. Brown owes you $5,000?
He had to go to the emergency room because he was very sick, and he didn't have insurance, and so he had a bill of, it was roughly around $4,000, and he never paid it, and so it went to collections. So I told him, I was like, you know, usually with collections, they're really willing to work with you. And so he got it brought down to $2,356.96, and he did not have the money for that. The agreement was is if you paid it now, they would drop it to that amount. And so I went ahead and I paid for it, and the agreement was that he was going to pay
for it?
From my bank account.
Was he working at the time?
At that time, he had just lost his job.
For whom?
A boxing company, PCS, I believe.
I was working for Banfield, the pet hospital. I didn't start the boxing company until after this incident. And
how much were you earning?
At the veterinary clinic, I was making about $9.50 an hour.
How much did that translate to a week?
$250, $300.
And what did you do with the money?
All my checks were deposited in her account. There was periods where I did not have a job, that is true. But I was always paying the rent. I was paying for half the groceries. I was taking care of the animals, like her cat got sick, $2,000 bill right there. I took care of it. I paid for it through my work.
Just a second. Did you get a discount for it?
Yes, I did.
Is that true?
Yes, the discount.
Just a second. He paid for your cat?
No, okay. It was both of our cat, and he told me that it was my
Just a
birthday
second.
present.
You have the cat?
I have the animals now because he moved to Washington and left them with me.
Okay, he said it was your birthday present.
Yes.
Then it's your cat.
Well, okay.
What do you mean so well, okay?
No,
It's
he said the bill for the cat was my birthday present, and it was brought down to $200. Then his dog that I have got really sick, so I took her into the vet and ended up paying $400.
That's what happens when you play house.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The reason I moved out, though...
She supported ex-boyfriend Chris Brown for 3 years. Christina claims Chris is from a dysfunctional family.
You played house with this man. He took his paycheck and put it in your personal account.
But it wasn't how much he said it was. I have proof that his
I don't care
average
how
check-
much it was. He worked and put his check in your account.
He couldn't get a bank account because he had bounced checks.
Listen to me. I don't care whether he could or whether he couldn't. He took his check, put it in your account. You paid bills out of that account.
His bills.
Well, whose bills are you going to pay? Bird's bills out of the account? He paid rent to your mother, and he paid that according to your mother religiously. He paid for, he says, food. How did you pay for the food?
Well, I give my checks to her, and she said that half of...
Just a second.
Whatever the
So you gave your check to her?
Yes.
How did the rent get paid to Mrs. Lundberg?
She would give her mom the $300. She would pay
So
half
you
the
didn't
grocery
pay
bill.
that directly. You put your money into the account,
took care of
whatever
all
it
the
was.
bills, yes.
Let's say it was $800 a month. So you had $300 for rent and $500 for everything else.
But he didn't have $500 left over. His average check was like $214 for every 2 weeks. That would only be like $450. I have statements showing of what he has deposited in my
Well, let
account.
me see. Let me see.
This is his last check. Well, one of the checks that he deposited.
Show me a lot of them, not just one
I
that you
don't have
selected.
the other statements with me.
Ma'am, I had actually asked the bank for the check stubs that I had because she deposited them in her account. They said I had to get permission from her.
Absolutely
or
right.
Access.
I'm not interested in the living expenses. The living expenses, he put his check into your account, you played house, that's what happens. All I want to know from you, Mr. Brown, is there was a bill of $2,356, according to her, for an emergency medical. And when was that?
I think it was like June of last year.
Is that when he reached the agreement with them for $2,356?
No, it was actually August 23rd of 2005.
Now, after August of '05, were you working?
Let me see. Yes, I was working at PCS Boxing Company.
How much would you say you paid her back of the $2,356?
That doesn't count the money that we saved, like, during the whole time. I did not spend my whole paycheck every time we were together.
You're going to have to prove that to me, sir.
I can't without my
You're
check
going to have to prove that to me, sir. This was a recent bill, and based on this, she brought one bank statement for January of '05. Well, why did you just bring January of
Your
'05?
Honor, he had actually moved out several times, and in September, he actually got a place of his own with his friend because he decided he wanted to see if he could do it on his own. And so he didn't even live with us, and he didn't even pay me any of his checks from August on. Right after this situation, he told me that, because I was going into anatomy for my nursing program, he told me that he wanted me to quit my job after I've been working there for 3 years.
So did you move in with somebody else, sir, after the summer?
I had went out and got my own apartment.
Fine. Then at that point, you weren't giving her any money.
No.
That makes my life much easier. So you didn't pay anything of this $23.56.
Yes, Your Honor, every check was in her account.
You didn't give her any more checks, sir, after you resolved this matter with the bank for $23.56. You didn't give her any more money. You moved out.
The reason I moved out, though, is because she flew all the way across the United States for some other guy. So
that's not
just a second.
That is not
just
true.
a second.
That's not the case.
Mr. Brown, you want to discuss your social history and your social problems with her, go find another venue. In this venue, we talk about money. If in the summer of 2005, immediately prior to your moving out, I think was a very good idea, you incurred $56, which she paid, expecting you to continue to make payments into her bank account to cover that bill. And then you decided you wanted to live on your own. You owe her $23.56. But he doesn't owe you $5,000, madam. Just because somebody says to you, I'm going to support you when you go to college, doesn't mean they're going to do it.
What about half of the animal bills that have occurred with food and
Your Honor?
They're expensive.
Put your hand down. I'm not interested in what you have to say. This is your daughter's problem. She created it with your assistance. She has to deal with it.
Christina Lundberg claims she supported ex-boyfriend Chris Brown for 3 years. Christina claims Chris is from a dysfunctional family.
If you can't afford the animals, get rid of them. Do you understand? If you love them and they're like your children, which is what you said here, then you take care of them.
I do take care of them.
Then that's just fine. That's what you do. You take care of them. You don't expect him to take care of them. They are not children. You don't expect him to take care of them, do you?
No.
Good. Then you take care of them. Babies wanting to play house with the assistance of their mother. I don't get it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $23.56. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. You guys have been sworn in. You may be seated. Let's have a seat.
Mr. Flynn, it is your claim that Miss Taylor's son, this young man over here, who will now stand up and stand next to his mother, ran into and damaged your truck. He was driving a snowmobile.
That's correct.
And this happened on your property.
That's correct.
You also claim that Miss Taylor, when this happened, agreed to pay for the damages to your truck. She did not do that.
That's correct.
But she says that your truck actually hit her son's snowmobile and that she believes you should be responsible for fixing his snowmobile, which is considerably more than fixing your truck.
That's correct.
When did this happen?
December 13th at approximately 3:10 p.m.
And was this on your property?
This is a mobile home park, and it is private property.
You live in the mobile home park.
Yes, I do.
Do you? Look at me. What's your name?
Robert?
Robert, does your mother live in the mobile home park?
No, she does not.
How far away from there do you live?
3 blocks, maybe.
What were you doing driving on that property?
I was going to a football party at my friend's house for a Packer game.
And where does your friend live?
Like 2 houses down from him.
What's your friend's name?
Ricky.
Does that person live near you?
Yeah, he does.
I want you to walk over to this diagram, Robert, and show me where your friend Ricky lives.
It's not shown on here, but he lives right here. His house goes this way.
Okay. Now, which direction were you coming from?
I was coming this way like it shows, and then I was going straight here, and then he pulled his truck out of his spot, and then I tried to turn and swerve away from him, and then I hit him, and then I went more into the grass here.
So you hit him. That's what you just said.
He hit
you
me.
said, no, that's not what you just said. What you just said was, I hit him and swerved off.
Well, yeah, my snowmobile hit his truck, yes.
Right, that's what you just said. Your snowmobile hit his truck.
Yes.
Now, where did your snowmobile hit his truck?
right behind the driver's wheel.
Was he backing out of the driveway?
No, he was not, but he turned out that way.
So he was coming out forward?
Yeah, and he turned out, though, at, like, pretty sharp. He didn't just gradually come out.
Mm-hmm. Come back here. Now, Robert, how fast were you going on the snowmobile?
I was going at almost an idling speed.
Well, if you were going at almost an idling speed, how come you hit an object? You hit him.
It was very icy out, and I don't believe I did hit him. I believe he hit me.
You just told me you hit him. But don't put your hand up. You weren't there. You just said you hit him.
Yes, I made a mistake.
No, you told it right. Okay, Mr. Flynn.
I don't know if you want to see these or not. These are a little bit more detailed.
How old are you, Robert?
I'm 16 years
Do you
old.
have a driver's license?
I have my temps.
Do you have a driver's license?
No, I have a snowmobile driver's license, though.
Can I see the photographs, please? All right, Mr. Flynn, you want to tell me your version of these events, please?
Yeah, what happened was I was out scraping the windows on our truck. We had a substantial snowfall, and I was out scraping the truck off. My wife was sitting in the passenger side, and we heard him screaming up and down the road a few times, and then he came into our park, and I heard him accelerating. And the thing is, you don't hear a snowmobile. It's like a motorcycle. You don't hear a motorcycle unless it's accelerating. When they're coasting through, that's what you hear, nothing, not snow. But anyways, I was cleaning off the windows on the passenger side. Next thing you know, bam, he hits the side of my truck and veered off, and he almost caught there's a post over there, but on the pictures you'll see it. There's no grassy area behind the trailer.
Are you telling me that the truck was not moving?
No, the truck was sitting right where it was. I was scraping the windows off. We're getting ready to go. If I was pulling out and I was at any type of an angle at all, he would have ran in the side of me. His skis would have stopped underneath my truck. He would have went right underneath my truck.
Where was this?
That is right behind the front left tire. It's like a step bumper that you step out of your driver's door.
Oh, I see. You called the defendant's mother to the scene.
Actually, I gave him my phone to call.
And she came?
After the second phone call. First phone call he made was like a bogus call. And then he handed me my phone back, says I can't get a hold of her. I said, that's not an option. Either your mother, your father, or the sheriff. And
is that right?
I got a hold of my mother's boyfriend.
Listen to me. Did you tell him I can't get a hold of her?
I could not at first, yes. I did tell him that, but it was not a bogus phone call. I talked to her boyfriend, which he said she was not there. And so I tried to call her cell phone, and I went to the voicemail. And then he said that he was calling the police then. I tried to call my mother again at Chris's house, I think, and she answered there because she was at their house for a Packer party.
And your mother came over?
Yes, she did.
And when she came over, what happened?
She kind of yelled at him a little bit, saying he wasn't supposed to have a sled out and he didn't need this kind of trouble. That wait till his father found out about it. And I told her, in fact, before we did anything, I had moved my truck out to protect the tracks from his snowmobile coming into the park. And I walked him and her back to the tracks, showing where he had no control over that unit. And I explained to her that I wouldn't call the cops, that whatever the damage is, give me $100 down or $150 down and make $25 a month payments. And she goes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Gave me her card, gave me everything. And the way I see now, where she has...
Just a second. When did you try to contact the defendant?
Actually, the accident happened on the 13th. On the 15th, I called her the first time and told her that the step bumper would be approximately $267. And I said, just give me the money for it, $100 or $150 down, and make the payments. And she says, no problem. Well, she called back like maybe 6 or 8 hours later and asked if one of her relatives or aunts, uncles, whatever, own a parts store, if they could get the part cheaper. And I says, yeah, that's fine. Get the part.
Who owns the parts store?
His father works.
Who owns the parts store?
His father works at one. That's all I said to him.
Fine.
I never said
just a
anything.
second. I didn't ask you anything yet. So, you asked if you could get the part cheaper. Would he mind getting it from his father's parts store? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. His truck was damaged when 16-year-old Robert Westerlund crashed his snowmobile. Robert claims Michael pulled out in front of him.
So did you call your ex-husband and ask him to get the part?
I called him and told him the make and model of his truck and asked him to find out what the part would cost.
Did he ever get back to you with how much it would be?
No.
Do you know why?
No, I don't know why.
You see, this is not the story you gave me in your answer.
I haven't had a
But
chance
clearly,
to talk.
oh yeah, we're going to get the way. I'm sure that I'm going to get the truth. So far, whatever Mr. Flynn is telling me is the truth, because you acknowledge now that you called your ex-husband and said he was in this accident with the truck. Do me a favor, please find out how much it would cost to replace this part. That, to me, Miss Taylor, acknowledges the fact that your son was at fault.
I don't agree.
Well, I don't care what you agree with. That's why I'm sitting here and you're standing there. Because otherwise, there would have been no reason for you to call your ex-husband and say, listen, how much can we get this part for? Because I promised that I would pay for the part, and he wants put your hand down. He wants $267 for it, and I said I would see if I could get it cheaper.
I never promised.
Listen to me. Knock, knock. There would have been no reason for you to call your ex-husband to ask him to get the part cheaper if you believed that it was his fault and he was responsible for the damage on the snowmobile.
It saved us going to court and going through.
That's right. So you did say, I will take care of it. Had your son been in trouble with the police before?
Yes.
Yes, which is why you didn't want the sheriff called again.
I said to call the police. I did.
When did you say call the police?
At the time of the accident, when I came and saw the way the cars were sitting, it was obvious his car was pulled out in front of Bobby.
So why didn't you call the police?
Bobby said, Mom, please, let's just take care of it. We'll pay the $150. And I said, we'll talk about it later. We exchanged phone
now
numbers.
we're getting closer to the truth. Closer, but not 100% there yet. So despite the fact that now you tell me that a visual viewing suggested it was his fault and not your son's, and the damage, according to you, to the snowmobile was over $2,000.
He pulled in front of Bobby and I saw it.
I'm speaking. You had the right to call the police and say, this was an accident. My son could have been hurt badly. You didn't do that. Your son said, Mom, let's just take care of it. That's what you said. What, Bobby?
The reason I wanted to take care of this without calling the police is because I was in trouble with the cops and everything, yeah, but the reason I agreed to pay for this damage is because he got out of the truck yelling and screaming at me, and I felt threatened and I didn't know.
Oh, Robert, get over. At this point, your mother is there.
No, she wasn't at that point.
No, at this point. Your mother just said to me.
No, I wasn't
No, this is before she got there.
Listen, I'm not interested in what a 16-year-old says to him before your mother gets there.
I didn't say nothing.
When your mother was there, you said to her, according to your mother, let's just take care of it, Mom. I don't want to call the police.
Yes, I did say
Right,
to my
that's
mother.
all. So you got to take care of it. Can I have a bill, please?
I do have a tape recording here, too.
Of
Bobby saying, Mike, I'm sorry, I know I haven't lived up. That was after I sent him a letter saying, after 2 or 3 months went by.
Well, then according to what I read, his mother probably got fed up with him and he went to live with his father. He lives with his father now?
We have joint placement, split custody.
Did he go to live with his father?
No.
Your Honor, what had happened was I called her house, and she said, Bobby doesn't live here anymore, and she hung up on me.
That's not true.
So then I called her husband, ex-husband. Bobby answered the phone, and I told him, this is the way it's going to be. No more options. You make the payments here come Wednesday. And so what happened was Bobby says, I'll make a payment on Wednesday. After 3 weeks of him not making a payment, I sent her a letter, certified letter. I've got a copy of that. And I told her exactly what went on, how the damage occurred, how she walked through the tracks, the whole bit.
Listen to me. She told you not to call the police.
No, that's correct.
I told him not to. She did not.
This is not a free-for-all. I'm getting what happened here. You know, life's experience is revisited hundreds of thousands of times during the course of one's lifetime. This is not so unusual. You got there. You saw what you saw. You know, you had trouble with the police before. Your son said to you, Mom, let's just take care of the damage. You said, fine, send me the bill. He calls you and said, this is what it's going to be. You say to him, let me see if I can get the part cheaper. You call your, don't shake your head. No, that's exactly what you told me. You call your ex-husband, you ask him to get the part cheaper, and then all of a sudden, nobody hears anything from you. Put your hand down. How many times have you been arrested at age 16?
I've been arrested twice.
If you have to think that long about how many times you've been arrested, it's too many times, Robert. Your son said to you, Mom, just take care of the damage and let's go. Because he said to me, I've been in trouble with the police. He's been arrested.
I'm not lying.
I suggest to you, sir, that when you appear before a judge on your other matters, which are criminal in nature and not civil.
I've never had a problem with any other judges.
I want to tell you something. That's probably your problem. If you had trouble with the first one, maybe there wouldn't have been a second one. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $517.
All parties in the matter of Parson versus Southworth. Step forward.
25-year-old Lori Pawson is suing her former roommate, Ricky Southworth, for unpaid rent and a loan to fix his car. Ricky claims Lori knew of his financial problems when she gave him the money.
How old are you, Miss Pawson?
25.
You work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
Full-time manager at a restaurant.
How long have you known Mr. Southworth?
Approximately 3 years.
He ran into some hard times, according to what I gather from your complaint and his answer, and you invited him to move in with you.
Yes.
As a friend?
Yes.
And the agreement was, according to you, that he was going to contribute to the rent.
Yes.
Your complaint alleges that he did not contribute to the rent. I think your agreement was how much a month, Mr. Southworth?
It was $200 a month.
And he lived there for 6 months. And in addition, after he didn't contribute to the rent for 6 months, you also made him another loan for a car.
No, Your Honor. The loan for the car was before we had moved in together.
When?
Approximately a month before we had moved in together, I had loaned him $500 for a car, which he had had a previous car, but he said it wasn't running well and that the car that...
Loaned him $500
Yes.
for the car. Then he moved in.
Yes.
And then he didn't pay rent.
Yes.
He moved in what month?
Actually, it was the end of July, but I did not charge him until August,
And when had you given him the $500?
July 19th.
So far, is that correct, Mr. Southworth?
Yes, it is, ma'am.
Did you repay her the $500?
No, I sure have not.
Why not?
The job I was working at the time, I got laid off, so I had no income. And then what little bit of income I did have was going towards my 2 children.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
How old are your children?
I've got a 5 and a 4-year-old right now.
Your Honor, he was not laid off till at least after November.
What was your intention with regard to the $500 that you gave you for...
The intention was to pay that back.
Well, then why do you... It's a gift.
Well, the rest of the money after that was the gift.
What rest?
The money that was towards the repair of the vehicle.
What about the rent?
That was the agreement as friends that we stayed together and I paid $200 a month.
Yes.
Yes.
And?
And I got laid off. Well, see, she told me to fix my car, then worry about paying her rent.
Yes. Did you fix your car?
Just as I got it repaired.
Did you fix your car is
Yes.
my question.
Yes.
And then did you start worrying?
Yes, because I got laid off.
Good. That's what she said. Fix your car and then you'll worry about rent. So I want to know if you followed a direction.
Yes.
You fixed your car.
Yes.
And then you started to worry.
Yes.
When did you stop worrying, Mr. Southworth?
I never stopped worrying.
Are you still worrying?
Yes.
I would worry a lot more today than I did yesterday. With whom do your 2 children live?
With their mothers.
With their mothers? Is that plural?
Yes.
What kind of work were you doing before you got laid off, Mr. Southworth?
I was making windows.
Don't people need windows anymore?
They do, but it's a layoff season. I'm pretty much laid off more than I work.
Well, then maybe you best find another profession, sir, because you made 2 babies in your spare time.
Yes.
What do you mean, yes?
I've been seriously thinking about that.
Shh. Were you seriously thinking about that in between the worrying about paying her back?
Yes.
You do a lot of serious wondering and thinking.
Yes.
Now you have to start doing some serious working, Mr. Southworth.
Yes.
Because your worth is going south, sir. So is my patience with a 26-year-old man who makes 2 babies with 2 different women, moves in with this young lady, promises to pay her rent, doesn't do that, takes money to fix his car, takes money to buy a car, and you do a lot of worrying. Who are you?
His girlfriend.
You're not the mother of any of these children, are you?
No, ma'am.
Not yet. Is Mr. Southworth working now?
Yes.
Doing what?
I work at Walmart.
How much money do you send for your 2 children?
That gets deducted straight out of my paychecks.
That's why we call this a good America. How much?
It varies for each kid. I am ordered to pay $91 a week for my oldest son, and then $156 something for my youngest every 2 weeks.
Guess the youngest doesn't eat as much. What?
At the time he was staying with me, he was only paying child support for $25 a week on one of his children.
I don't know if he pays this amount, but he tells me this is what the order is.
Yes.
He doesn't say that that's what he's paying, right?
Yes, they take half of my paycheck.
They take half. This is a really good America. Do you work?
Yes.
Stand up a second. Tell me your name.
Lisa Brown.
You have children, Miss Brown?
I have 4.
They all live with you?
Yes.
Does he live with you?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I sell phones at Walmart.
The father of your children, do they pay child support?
No, he's incarcerated.
For how long?
15 years.
How long have you lived with Mr. Southworth?
Probably about 2 months.
How long did you know him before you moved in?
A year.
Does he treat your children nicely?
Yes.
You charge him rent?
No.
Does he contribute to your household?
Yes.
How much?
We put all of it together, so it's both of our incomes combined, and we pay the bills from that.
Do you earn the same thing?
No, I earn more than him.
That doesn't sound right to me. You want to know why? Because according to him, half of his money goes to support his 2 children, which means if you earn more, he's living pretty well off of...
No.
Well, what kind of a house do you live in, Miss Brown?
3-bedroom house.
You pay rent or
Yes.
you own it?
Pay rent, $600.
And how much do you take home every 2 weeks?
It varies between 120 and 150.
Every 2 weeks?
Yes.
Mr. Southworth, Miss Brown, can afford to live in a thimble. And if it wasn't for you, he wouldn't be living reasonably. He lives in a 3-bedroom house. What?
I'd also like to make comment that her parents do also live there.
Great. And there are a lot of people living there. You, your 3
So they do
children.
have more income than that in the household.
He's living reasonably. You have a car to get you to and from work?
Yes.
And you pay insurance on the car?
Yes.
Couldn't do any of that if you weren't so good to him. Don't combine your money with his. It's a very bad idea. You have a primary responsibility, Miss Brown. Your primary responsibility is for your children. Their father's not going to be around. So you're supposed to surround your children with responsible people, not somebody who's going to suck off you. How much does he owe you?
Well, in January we had agreed on $1,766, which was for the car and other odd things, that money he had borrowed for whatnot, and for rent also included.
Did you make that agreement?
No.
Your Honor.
What?
In January, before he had moved out in February, in January, when we had talked about this agreement, $1,066, he had came to me and asked me if he could stay at my home for a few more months, and if he got the $766 from Lisa, because he said he knew he could, because what he says goes. Anyway, he said if he gave me the $766,
Just a minute.
if he could stay a few more months.
Lisa, do you believe her when
No.
she says that Mr. Southworth said that he was going to get the $700 from you?
No.
I want you to believe her. You may choose not to believe her, but I'm telling you, I would believe her because he used her.
She told me 2 weeks.
Listen to me. He used her. No. Sure he did. He lived off of her for 6 months without paying her any money. She gave him money to buy a car. She gave him money to fix a car, and he didn't give her any money back. That means he used her. He acknowledges that these were loans. He acknowledges that this was rent. His excuse was he fell on hard times, and he had 2 children to support. So he used her. I'm just telling you, watch your back. Be smart. Be a smart lady. You already made one big mistake. The mistake is in prison. Don't make another one. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. That's all.
Anna Bashenstein is suing her former employee, Paul Brunst, for damaging her horse trailer. Paul says Anna fired him before he could pay her off.
Miss Bashenstein, you hired the defendant to do some odd jobs around your residence, including tree clearing and getting rid of some brush. At some point, Mr. Brunst was using a trailer of yours to dispose of property.
That's right.
From your house. And there was an accident with the trailer, and the trailer was damaged. There was an agreement, according to both of you, that in lieu of paying for the damage, Mr. Brunst would continue to work for you, pretty much free of charge, and continue to clear the trees.
That's
correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then there was a brush fire. You set some fire to some brush, and you were burned.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you decided that you didn't want this guy around anymore. He was like an accident looking to happen, so you terminated his employment.
He wanted to keep working to pay off the trailer.
Correct.
And
He
I thought
wanted-
it wasn't a good idea.
Right.
Yeah.
So you terminated your contract with him, your oral contract with him, to allow him to work off the damage.
Yes.
Now you want him to pay for the damage.
Exactly.
Interesting. How much did she pay you in the time that you worked there?
Was around $480. It was $382.40.
$382. And how many days did you work there?
I worked there for about a week and a half. That's not true.
It was less time than that. I was paying him $10 an hour.
Just a second. Shh, listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work was he doing?
He was clearing brush.
And trees?
Yes.
When I say trees, I mean cutting down trees and taking them away?
Well,
that would be a yes or a no?
Yes.
Had you gotten other estimates for that work?
Yes.
And what were the other estimates?
I got them from 2 different tree guys.
Okay, and the 2 different tree guys gave you estimates for how much?
Approximately $5,000.
Say it a little louder.
Approximately $5,000.
And certainly Mr. Brunst was doing it for a lot less.
Yes, he was unemployed and was
Second,
asking.
listen to me. How much did he clear?
Maybe
Mr. Brunst?
50 to 100 square feet.
How much did you clear of the property that had to be cleared?
A little over half of it.
That's not true at all.
Madam, you breached a contract. There was an accident with the trailer. There's no indication that there was an accident with the trailer because he intentionally damaged the trailer. Is that right?
He didn't intentionally damage it.
Of course not. The trailer, according to you, at some point the hitch broke, chain broke.
He never had it hitched up.
Whatever it was, and it rolled down a hill and it was dented.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and you had been using it for how long?
About 3 days.
And how many trips did you make with it in the 3 days that you were using the trailer to dispose of this brush?
4 trips.
And it was on the 4th trip or the 5th trip that there was this accident?
It was on the 5th trip, Your Honor.
So you made 4 successful trips?
Yes, Your Honor.
No problem.
No.
So there's no indication that this was done with any malice. He wasn't drunk. It was an accident.
Right.
Do you have homeowners insurance?
I do, and it's covering his health care since he didn't have health care. And the reason that the fire happened and he wound up with medical expenses was that he dumped 5 gallons of gasoline on the fire in order to start it. Even though he told me that he'd been to the fire department, talked to them about the proper way to have a brush fire to dispose of the brush, and I kept telling him to use his best judgment and to dispose of the brush in the way that he found.
He used his best judgment. His best judgment wasn't good enough.
Apparently
Ms.
not.
Bruchenstein. He was giving you a bargain rate. Bargain. $10 physically for.
I just don't know what the rate has anything to do with.
Listen to me very carefully. I don't answer your questions. You answer mine. You were getting a bargain rate from somebody who was clearly unskilled because according to you and according to him, he was out of work. I thought he was being very nice when he said, listen, I used this trailer 4 times. On the 5th time, whatever, the chain broke loose and it went down a hill. But I'll work off the money to fix it by working for you until it's paid off.
That seemed fair.
That was very nice.
Right.
He didn't stop working for you. You fired him.
I think I was well within my reason. He seems extremely accident prone.
Well, madam, you picked him. You picked him. You picked him to work for you. You had an opportunity to check his credentials. You had an opportunity to see if he ever had done this work before. You had the opportunity to go to the fire department just like he did. And you said to him, without doing any of those things, use your best judgment. Unfortunately, his best judgment wasn't good enough. And he burned himself.
So I suggest.
That's right. Absolutely right. But you had a contract with him, and your contract was he was going to continue to work off the damage done to the trailer. And if he had left without doing that and said, I'm not working for you anymore, well, then you would have had a cause to sue him. But because you changed your mind doesn't mean that you can sue him. You fired him. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Okay.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
So you want to keep working for me, Paul?
Angelina Morales is suing fellow partygoer 18-year-old Sean Swales for stealing her camera. Sean denies the charge.
Miss Morales, it is your claim that the defendant, who was a guest in your boyfriend's house, stole your camera.
Yes.
And you want him to pay for it.
Yes.
Mr. Swales acknowledges that he had your camera in his possession, but says that he found it outside of the house. He's going to tell me what he did with it, and it is not his fault. Correct?
Yes.
On what date did you lose your camera? And I put the word lose loosely.
The party was August 12th. I went to bed around 1 o'clock.
Party was at your boyfriend's house?
Yes.
How many people were there?
Roughly 15 to 17 people.
And according to what I read in your complaint, you were the photographer, you were taking pictures.
Yeah.
What kind of camera were you using?
It was an Olympus S50 Zoom, a very expensive camera.
When had you purchased it?
In 2003.
How big a camera is it?
It was small, probably about this size.
Okay, when you finished taking the pictures, what did you do with the camera?
I put it in my tote bag
which was in the guest room on the guest bed, and I had put my clothing over it, and then I went and slept in my boyfriend's room.
And you remember distinctly that that's where you put it?
Yes. I wasn't drinking. Everyone else in the house was. I remember where I put my equipment.
What happened the next morning?
I woke up early. I went straight for my tote bag, looked in my tote bag.
What made you look in it?
It had my clothes and my makeup and everything. And I also like to look at the pictures I take the night before. So I was looking for my camera. Couldn't find it. I basically freaked out because my camera is my whole life.
No.
It sounds very materialistic, but it is. It's what I go to school for. And to lose something like that, it's heartbreaking. And I know where I put my camera. It was in my bag when I went to bed.
Got it.
And it wasn't there in the morning.
Well, what makes you think that the defendant had anything to do with it?
It was about a week later I found out he is a friend of our friend who called him out on it. He admitted it, and then I sent him...
Well, that I can't accept because I don't have that person here.
Well, he said he found a camera,
Okay, now tell me where the camera is, sir.
Well, actually what happened is we walked outside, camera inside a bag, which we didn't know at the time. We picked it up thinking it fell out of the car.
Who's we?
Me and my girlfriend. She was with me the whole time. Pick it up, we're thinking it fell out of the car like it's one of the friends. We looked through it, nothing in there, like no ID or anything like that. So.
What else was in the bag?
There was a bracelet.
Was there a bracelet in your bag?
My camera wasn't in a bag.
Was there a bracelet along with the camera?
No.
You say no. Okay. Inside the bag was a camera and a bracelet.
Yeah.
I want you to describe the bracelet.
The bracelet,
Just a second.
Yeah.
Did your girlfriend see the bracelet?
Yeah.
This is your girlfriend?
Yeah.
Put her outside.
Angelina Morales claims fellow partygoer Sean Swales stole her camera. Sean claims he did no such thing.
All right, Mr. Swales, now I want you to describe first the makeup bag, or the bag that you found the camera in. What color was it?
Makeup bag. There's polka dots on it, definitely. And my
polka dots.
From what my girlfriend says, it's a really expensive makeup bag.
No, just a second. Polka dots. What color was the bag?
I'd say like white polka dots.
White polka dots, and what was
black,
the background?
I don't know. It was dark. Didn't really like
Dark.
look too much at it. Yeah.
Okay, now I want you to describe the bracelet to me.
The bracelet. I mean, I can't really describe it as a bracelet.
Yes,
chain.
you can. You can tell me whether it was white gold, yellow gold. You can tell me whether it was silver.
Thinking maybe silver or something like that. I don't know.
Did it have any stones in it?
I don't think so, no.
Was it a hard or a soft bracelet? Could you move it around?
It was like a chain, similar, yeah.
Okay. Anything else in the bag?
And that was about it. Yeah, that was it, definitely.
Go ahead.
What we did is we got into the car, we started driving back, and as we get dropped off, we were in the car for about 8 minutes. We get out and we're like, wait a minute, the camera's still in there. So we just left it in there, you know?
No, I don't understand that. Well, let's start again. You take the polka dot bag, which contains a camera and a bracelet, and you bring it into the car with you. Did you ever find out whose bracelet it was?
Yes, Amanda, and we returned the bag to her, and she has her own camera. Amanda was the person that was inside the car with us.
Well, was it her camera?
Yep.
So what you're telling me is the bag that you found contained a camera and a bracelet, both of which belonged to Amanda.
Yes.
Who returned it to Amanda?
Brooke did.
Who's Brooke?
My girlfriend.
So your girlfriend returned the camera and the bracelet in the bag.
No, not the camera, just the bracelet in the bag.
What happened to the camera?
The camera was left in the car as she grabbed it when she got out at her spot that she got out at.
So your girlfriend grabbed the bag, but the camera was not in the bag.
The camera was not in the bag. We had the bag, took the camera out, looked at it, set it in the car. We accidentally, mistakenly took the bag, and we ended up finding out it was Amanda's.
Now sit down. Now you can go and bring me back the lovely
Brooke.
Brooke. All right, Brooke, what I want you to do first is describe to me this bag that you found that contained the camera.
It was polka dot, black and pink, I think.
And what was in it?
The camera and a silver bracelet.
Describe the bracelet to me.
It was silver. I think it was just like a...
Now, when you got out of the car, what did you do with the bag?
Put it in my purse.
Where was the camera?
Inside the car.
Neither you nor Mr. Swale saw the camera again?
No, we didn't.
Okay, great. Now you can stand up. Okay, Miss Morales.
I talked with Amanda after I found out who took my camera.
You can't tell me what Amanda said to you, Miss Morales.
Okay. Well, basically, I called them out on it.
Called who out on it?
Called the defendants out. I asked them if I could have my camera back. I wrote them an email. He said they took it in the car with them. His girlfriend says it was my camera, and I just...
Well, I'd like to see where she says it was her camera.
No, she says it was my camera. Somehow my camera found its way outside.
It is possible that they or somebody else took the camera out of that bag, but you have to have proof.
But they said they had it in the car with them, and it's not in the car.
But there were other people in the car, Miss Morales.
There was one other person I did not know in the car, and I...
One other person is all you need. One other person is all you need.
She has a camera of her own. She wouldn't take it.
Listen to me. That's not something that I know for a fact. What you have to do is you come into court and accuse somebody of really committing a crime. I don't know whether they took your camera or not. It's possible that they did. I don't know. But you don't have sufficient proof, even a little bit of proof, that they took it. And I assume that everybody was drinking at this party?
Yes.
So they got into a car, and it's possible that the camera was in the car along with this bag. It fell out of the bag. It was left in the car. And who knows what happened. Maybe somebody who was driving that day parked at some place, and some stranger looked in the car and said, there's a camera laying on the back seat. Opened the door, reached in and took the camera. All kinds of possibilities. But unfortunately, and I know that you say this camera is your life, you don't have sufficient proof for me to make a determination that these people are responsible for that camera.
But they physically took it from the party into the...
No, you don't have any proof of that.
They admit taking it.
No, they don't. They admit finding it on the street. They don't admit taking it from the party.
But they didn't even have the responsibility to come back into the house and ask whose camera it was?
No. Two drunk people got into a car, they took it, they left it in the car. Negligent? Perhaps. But they don't have responsibility, and I don't think that you can prove that they stole it. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to find another way to replace this camera. Your case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We didn't take the camera. That's how